Seattle Mariners have toiled in the obscurity and serenity of the Pacific Northwest. But tonight, the roof is ready to come off the Kingdome. For the first time in their history, Seattle can clinch a tie for the AL West with just one win. They've captured the excitement of an entire region. 50,000 are lucky enough to say they're here tonight. The headlines in Seattle today sum it up for the Mariners. Almost heaven. But for most of the season, it was the Angels who were in heaven. Their youth gave them strength, bashing their way to an 11-game lead in the West. They were baseball's Cinderellas, or were they? All of a sudden, for California, the music stopped. And the heat was turned up in Seattle, with Randy Johnson's fastballs blazing a path back from a 13-game deficit. The bats followed suit. In dogged pursuit, they've refused to lose. Junior is back. And this evening, the Mariners are looking to sail into uncharted waters, leaving the Angels on the outskirts. As the newspapers say in Seattle today, it is indeed almost heaven, and you can certainly hear it. With 5 games to go, the Mariners lead the California Angels by 3. So a win tonight, 4 up with 4 to go. You can do the math. They will clinch at least a tie for the AL West, their first ever. And the news worse for the Angels. Yankees won last night. They've won this afternoon, which means the Angels no longer control their own destiny. They're 2 behind the Yankees in the wild card race. Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Berman, and welcome to Seattle. For the next 6 hours here on ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball, we will show you how the West will be won. Angels and Mariners here first. Then over the National League, we go down the street to Los Angeles for the Dodgers and the Colorado Rockies. It's our job. It's indeed an adventure. And, of course, it is a privilege to be with you for Major League Baseball from the first day of the season to the last day of the season. And tonight, we are proudly, once again, here for you as the network of baseball. And my goodness, Buck Martinez, we have another big game tonight. 11 and a half out 30 days ago with the Mariners. They can be 4 up with a win. Wow.
Well, they've really turned it on. You know, they went out and picked up a couple of veteran players. Vince Coleman to play left field, Anthony Bennis to go into the starting rotation. Plus the fact they've got Ken Griffey Jr. back. The offense is really solidified here in the month of September. They won 17 ball games, and Jay Buhner has led the way. He's hit 10 home runs in his last 19 ball games, and this club can put up a lot of runs in a hurry.
On the other side of the coin, of course, a big collapse by the Angels. They're up 11 games in this division. Now they don't control their own destiny. How can they pick up the pieces in the last 5 games they're starting tonight?
Well, Chris, they need a big start from Chuck Finley tonight. He goes against the Mariners, and he's got to keep the Mariners off the scoreboard early to get the crowd out of this ball game. He's 0-2 this year against Seattle, but in his career, he's 12-6. That's his best record against any club in the big leagues. What he has to do tonight is come out early and shut down the Mariners early in the ball game and try to set the tone for the Angels.
So it's Chuck Finley into what's really a hornet's nest against one of the few Mariners that knows about big games and postseason games, Tim Belcher. Mariners going for a tie of the West. Stick around.
Team 77, 2 expansion teams entered the American League, the Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners. The Blue Jays have won 2 World Series championships. Will this be the year for Seattle? We'll find out for Ken Griffey Jr. in just a moment here on Wednesday Night Baseball. Welcome to our studios. I'm John Saunders. First, let's get you up to date on the New York Yankees in the chase for the wild card race. They were a winner this afternoon over the Milwaukee Brewers. David Cohn getting the win. 9-2 in 13 Yankees starts. He went 8 innings. Randy Velarde was 2 of 4 with a home run, his 6th of the year. So they now lead by 2 full games over the California Angels. In the National League, the Astros started the day a half back of the Dodgers. In the 11th inning against the Pirates, Rich Audis with a single here. Al Martin and Orlando Merced come in to score. The Pirates take a 5-3 lead and go on to the 6-3 victory. So the bad news for the Houston Astros, they're now a full game back of the Los Angeles Dodgers, that in the wild card race. We want to remind you that coming up at 10:30 Eastern time, it's the Rockies and the Dodgers going head-to-head. Kevin Ritz facing Kevin Tapani. The Rockies, with their win last night, now lead the Dodgers by a half a game. That's at 10:30 Eastern time. Right now, baseball coming up, the Angels and Mariners. Chris Berman and Buck Martinez.
All right, John, thank you very much. And to say that the Kingdome is ready to rock, Jimi Hendrix style, speaking of natives from the Seattle area, to say that it's ready to rock would be an understatement. And this is the lineup that Marcel Latchman will hope will hold off what all of a sudden has looked like the inevitable. Tony Phillips at third base for the Angels. Gary, little old lady from Disarcenia, the shortstop. Jim Edmonds in center field, the all-star, heading third. Tim Sockeye Salmon is cleanup. Chili Davis, the DH, fifth. J.T. Snow at first. The youngster Garrett Anderson, homered yesterday, is seventh. Rexless Rex, the wonder dog, is at second base. Greg Myers is the catcher, and they're going up against a right-hander, Tim Belcher, who has pitched some money games in his past for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Now, Tim Belcher's a real pro on the mound. He's well prepared for this start. His 27th start of the season. He's 10-10. This will be his third start against California this year. You see, he always gives up a lot of hits. That's because he throws it over. He'll challenge you to put it in play. He's given up just 3 home runs in his last 11 starts. He has really kept away from the gopher ball.
So we begin here in Seattle with Tony Phillips, who has had just a wonderful season with 26 home runs, scored over 100 runs, among the league leaders, and the Angels really, Buck, looking to do something in the first inning. I think you'll see if anybody gets on to be much more aggressive, and a strike call, and the crowd will be roaring on every pitch. Rich Garcia behind the plate, Dale Ford at first, Larry Young at second, Mike Riley, the umpire, at third base tonight. He's had a great season, but like so many of the other Angels, since August 1st, around the Mendoza line. Fouls it off, and Belcher is ahead 1-2.
Belcher throws a couple of different fastballs. He'll ride the fastball inside, throw a sinking fastball down and away, a slider, and he got a very good split finger pitch. And he'll use that split to a lot of left-handed hitters, and look for him to get a lot of ground ball outs if that split's working on it.
Came in with some heat. Tim Belcher can do it, and it's 2-2.
Rich Garcia, the home plate umpire, is a very consistent umpire, but he's got a very small strike zone. He'll make the pitchers work the corners. He won't really expand his strike zone at all.
Outside, and the count will go full.
That's the split finger pitch that Phillips laid off of. Obviously, when this Mariner ball club was really starting to take off, the pitcher set the tone, and I believe starting pitchers really have a lot to do with the outcome of a ball game. DeSarcina waiting on deck, hitting in the 2 spot now. Most of the season prior to his injury, he was batting 9th.
And the Angels have what they want, a leadoff base runner here to start the game. So a base on balls issued to Tony Phillips.
Lou Piniella is looking at his defense. It's 11th in the league. Coleman in left field is the 42nd left fielder that Ken Griffey Jr. has played with. Buhner's in right field. Flowers, Soho, Fermin, and Martinez on the infield. Very good catcher in Dan Wilson. Ken Griffey Jr. is finally up to full speed in center field. He's an outstanding defensive center fielder who owns 5 Gold Gloves.
Disarcina, of course, shows bunt, pulls it back, and it's ball 1. Disarcina, the 4 games that he's been back, the all-star shortstop, did they rush him? Well, why not if he can stand the pain, which, of course, impedes the way he swings the bat with his thumb injury. Disarcina 3 for 12 since he's back in the lineup, Buck, including 2 for 3 on Sunday, their lone win in this scheme, the 5-0 win that Abbott pitched at Texas.
Now Belcher doesn't have a great move to first base, but he is very conscientious about holding the base runner close. His catcher, Dan Wilson, has got a real strong arm. You give him a chance to throw a runner out, and he'll do it.
There goes Phillips. Ground ball to short. Soho, with Phillips running, has to go to first, and we had a feeling, and certainly talking with Marcel Lashman, anything you do in the first inning or second inning, you put a little pressure on, and that time Phillips ran his way out of a double play.
Well, they still might have had a shot if they go ahead and chance a toss to second base. Watch the break at the top of your screen. Phillips on the move here as they play hit and run. DeSarcina hits it right to the shortstop, Soho. But he doesn't even think about second base. He'll take the sure out at first. Phillips moves up on the play, and the Angels have a runner in scoring position here in the first inning.
Getting a lead so important for California. Yes, you're in a building which, as soon as the Mariners' bats start going, will erupt. As a strike is called to Jim Edmonds, the all-star center fielder. Edmonds, one of the many Angels scuffling during this lengthy losing streak. We've seen them drop their last 7, 11 of 12. Dropped 10 of 11, 9 in a row, 2 losing streaks of 9 in a row.
Chris, no matter how many years you've played, until you've played in a pennant race and experienced what it is to really wrap up tough ball games, it's tough on you. You see his great numbers for the season, 32 homers and 102 driven in, but Jim Edmonds right now is scuffling. I'm sure he, like everybody else in this lineup, feels like they've got to do something big with the bat.
He started to say an amazing number. There's Finley, who knows what his responsibility is tonight. Mark Langston, who was originally scheduled to go, but tenderness in the bicep. In 41 of the last 43 games, at one point, the Angels have been behind. That's brutal. It's brutal because when you're a good hitting team, you're a good hitting team. But if you're behind and you have to be a good hitting team, that's a little tougher, isn't it?
Well, Marcel Latchman has a pitching staff where he didn't expect to be behind that often. When you think of Finley, Langston, Abbott, guys in that rotation, you didn't expect them to experience 2 9-game losing streaks. But there are an awful lot of negative thoughts surrounding this Angel Ball Club right now. They're trying to figure out what in the world went wrong. Whatever. Davis is a veteran player that has been through pennant races before, but it can't be one guy that really leads the way.
Three-two pitch by Edmonds is fouled away. But the crowd is into every pitch, aren't they?
Tim Belcher is one of those guys that will look at videos, look at scouting reports, jog his memory as to how he pitched this lineup in the past, what he had success with. As I mentioned, this is Tim Belcher's 3rd start against the California Angels. You can see that he has had some trouble with them. ERA over 10 runs a ball game. He lost to them back on June 23rd and then again on the 2nd of August. Didn't pitch past the 6th inning in either of those games.
Edmonds lofts it. Buhner is under it. Phillips the tag. Bluff. Hold. 2 out. Phillips stays at second base.
Jim Edmonds got a pretty good pitch to hit. He got underneath it and popped it up. And in his frustration, tossed the bat up in the air. And these guys are pressing. There's no doubt about that.
Whatever courage or, well, let's watch he just missed it. He knew it.
Got a good fastball to hit. And you can see him toss the bat aside in frustration.
Whatever courage and confidence they'd summoned, a lot of it had to go out the window with the 10-2 defeat yesterday afternoon. They were up for it, and then again, Seattle sat on them early. And they were never in the game. They had 2 solo home runs, but that was farther down in the order by Anderson and by Myers. So now the one man who has been red hot despite the team's lack of success is Tim Salmon. Name apropos for a player here in the Pacific Northwest. Tim Sockeye Salmon, 12 of 25 on this road trip. And his average, you see right now, 2nd in the American League behind Edgar Martinez, has been about what it's been the last 2 months. Sawed off to right center. Buhner coming on. Dives. Doesn't make the play. Phillips will score. The fans don't like it, but the Angels have a lead. Larry Young was in good position to make the call. The second base umpire. Buhner doesn't really dispute it. The Angels have a lead.
Richie Garcia has got his crew on their toes. Jay Buhner really came hard from his position in right field. And look at that dugout for the Angels. Everybody off the bench. Watch the effort by Buhner. He goes after it, and you can see the short hop, but the umpire at second base, Larry Young, was all over this play. He was out in shallow right and had a real good view of that ball. That wasn't Young right there. That was Dale Ford crossing in front to cover Young's base at second. But there's Larry Young. Did a good job to get out there.
So that will bring up the switch hitting Chili Davis against Belcher. course, one run against the Mariners, the way they've been hitting, is it's like a bee sting to them.
But it's a big boost for the Angels, who have struggled for leads.
Belcher up top to Chile. And the count is 1-1. Chile, of course, one of the best switch hitters, not only now, but really, if you go through the annals of baseball, he's one of 8 switch hitters that has amassed over 1,000 RBIs. That's pretty good company. Lays off it. Did he go around? No. Says Mike Robb. You want to know the names? Pretty good group. Mickey Mantle, Eddie Murray, Ted Simmons, Pete Rose, Frankie Frisch, Reggie Smith, Ken Singleton, Chili Davis. That's the club. Chili, one of these Angels who has been through money games, through postseason. Twins, of course, in '91, fouls it back. But Chile, like everyone else except for Salmon, has been scuffling 5 for his last 31 when the Angels need him most.
You got to stay hard on Chili Davis in this situation. You can run the ball about belt high in on his hands. With 2 strikes, he likes the ball out away from him. He'll really redirect his sights. Belcher's got good command of his pitches so far in this ball game, and even though he gave up that bloop to Tim Salmon, he made a pretty good pitch on it.
Tim Belcher at 10-10. This is being picked up from Camp Homestead. Last year led the American League in losses with 15 with Detroit. Here he is trying to nail down elites to tie for a pennant.
See how Belcher's working him upstairs. Davis can ill afford to take those borderline fastballs upstairs, so he's got to try to offer at him. But you can see this is right at the upper limits of the strike zone, probably upstairs a bit, but Davis fouled it straight back. Belcher will put that high fastball in his mind, and then once he notices that Davis is trying to adjust to it, he'll drop that splitter on him.
Ripped. Fair ball over the glove of Tino Martinez. They'll send the runner home. Salmon. The relay from Fermin. Safe at the plate. Davis into third. 2-0 California. So with 2 outs, the Angels have come up with a pair of runs here in the top of the first inning. The Mariners in the 4th inning yesterday jumped on California with 3 runs with 2 out. Today it's the Angels returning the favor to Lou Piniella.
Chili Davis got a ball down out over the plate, and he hooked it over Tino Martinez's head all the way down into the corner. Tim Salmon, running with 2 outs, gets a great jump, gets the go-ahead from Rick Burleson, the third base coach. And look at the catcher. Good position right there. He's trying to ride Salmon off the plate, but Salmon spears home plate with that lead foot and scores the 2nd run. Look at the catcher. Good position right there. He's trying to block off Tim Salmon, but he doesn't have the ball yet, so he can't really emphasize that block. So Salmon is powerful enough to ride that leg right off home plate.
J.T. Snow swings and misses. The count is 1-1. So Salmon with a little sawed-off single for an RBI, then chugged in from first on the double by Davis. Of course, he went to third on the throw. 26 pitches thus far for Tim Belcher. Routine grounder to Fermin at second, over to Tino Martinez, and the Angels are gone, but not until they hang a 2-spot against Tim Belcher. Crowd coming alive because they know the Mariners are coming to the plate. A momentarily quiet, not dead quiet, but quiet Kingdome as the Angels hung a 2-spot with a double by Chili Davis following the single by Tim Salmon. And look at him. Yes, is it fair? They hadn't made the fair call yet.
But you see, they were even somewhat reserved
yes.
in that excitement. Nobody really jumped off the bench. It was almost like they didn't really believe they got a big hit.
You're right. I thought the same thing. Here's the Mariners, who hang in a 2 against lately has been nothing. And this is the lineup that has done some serious damage to everybody in the American League. Vince Coleman, that's right, Vince Coleman had a grand slam last week on his birthday. Leads off and left. Luis Sojo in the rain. Perfect Seattle nickname. Second at shortstop, Ken Griffey Jr. 4 homers his last 6 games in center. Edgar Martinez looking for his second batting championship DH. Jay Ferris Buhner, new Mariner record for RBIs with 118. Mike April Blowers is at third base. Tino Martinez is at first base. Felix the Cat Fermin gets the start at second tonight. Dan Wilson, the backstop for the Seattle Mariners, against the left-hander, 3-time All-Star, including this season, Chuck Huckleberry Finley.
Left-hander Chuck Finley goes to the mound for his 31st start of the season. He's pitching on 3 days rest. This is the second time he's done that this year. That happened because Mark Langston got some bicep tendonitis and he was unable to go. Finley always high in the strikeout total, 182 strikeouts in 189 2/3 innings.
Well, they have, there's still some people arriving. Remember, it's a 4:30 afternoon start. They have averaged the last 4 games and will include in this game over 50,000 here at the Kingdome. There are only 5,000 strips for the playoffs left. Means you got to buy every game. Ripped right away is Vince Coleman. Oh, but right there in left field to make the play for California is Garrett Anderson. My goodness, Vince Coleman's thinking going yard on the first pitch?
I think the Mariners are thinking right back at you. The Angels put up a 2-spot in their half of the inning, and Vince Coleman jumped on the first fastball he saw from Chuck Finley. He hit a line drive right toward left. Garrett Anderson, the young left fielder, takes a couple of steps back, sizes it up, and makes an easy play out of it. This guy's been a big pickup for the Mariners.
Oh, boy.
Gives them a leadoff hitter, gives them a left fielder.
Well, he's the 42nd left fielder to play with Ken Griffey in center. 42nd. I mean, it's not like Griffey's been here for 23 years. The franchise has only been here for 19. This is Luis Sojo hitting at 292. Little chopper. Phillips fields it in foul ground. So the count is 0-2 to Sojo. The former Blue Jay, actually former Angel as well, Luis Sojo, who this year, well, last year hit 277. Do you say that a lot of these guys are having career years? Yes, it's the best year in their careers, but there are very few who are, like 50 points ahead of where they have been, or 15 homers and 40 RBIs ahead of where they've been. Nice play by J.T. Snow, and you just saw why he's one of the best fielding first basemen in the game. 2 out.
Boy, oh boy, you get a feeling that this game is going to have all kinds of good defensive plays. Remember the effort Buhner made in the top half of the inning, and right here, J.T. Snow, a step to his right and a dive, and he robs Luis Sojo of a base hit. J.T. Snow is one of the best fielding first basemen in all of baseball. He's got great hands and good range. And he saves a base hit for Chuck Finley right there.
Well, Finley in his last game as Junior steps up. Ken Griffey Jr. just starting to be comfortable at the plate. Of course, his comfort level is a little higher than everybody else. I talked to him before the game. So he hit 4 homers in the last 6 games. You feel you're really coming around now with the wrist? He goes, kind of. But this is kind of.
Well, he is heating up a bit, but Lou Piniella says that until Griffey strings together 3 or 4 or 5 real good at-bats in a single game, that's when he knows that he's there. You see his numbers over the last 7 games, almost 450. But he is capable of putting up numbers like that on a long-term basis.
Well, you talked about it at the head of the telecast, Buck, how important it is, and admittedly there's only been 2 outs, and here comes the heart of the order, but for Finley to get through the first couple of innings. Griffey rips it to center field. Back goes Jim Edmonds. Back. Leaps and makes the catch against the wall. So if these Angels are hanging their heads, they certainly aren't hanging their gloves. 2 fine plays in the field for California. 2-0 after 1.
Ball and takes a drive off the bat of Ken Griffey Jr. He gets a high five from his right field partner, Tim Salmon. And then the rest of the Angels congratulate him for fine defensive play. 2 good defensive plays for the Angels. J.T. Snow at first and Jim Edmonds in center.
Well, that'll get them started as they start the second inning. The youngster and certainly Rookie of the Year candidate in the American League, very personable Garrett Morris Anderson. hitting at 326, almost 70 RBIs. Remember, he didn't come up right at the beginning. Hit a homer yesterday. Anderson, Hudler, and Myers, 7, 8, and 9 in the California order. Bottom part counted for the 2 runs yesterday. Anderson and Myers had solo homers. Tim Belcher over with a strike. Here's a pitcher, Buck, that started off so well with Los Angeles. I just thought, I still like his stuff. You wonder, you would think that he's 84 and 78 lifetime. I would have guessed it would be more like 165 the way he came into the league with LA.
Yeah, you would think that he would have been able to put together a few more consistent years than he has.
Fly ball to left field, and Vince Coleman is there. And Garrett Anderson is gone. So Coleman makes the plays, and we told you how the West was won. What about the NL West? They've split the first 2 of their 3-game set. Rockies winning last night on a pair of home runs by Larry Walker. Walker and Bichette against Piazza and the Dodgers. That coming up right after this game. So we go down the coast from the bed and breakfast nook of the Hotel California to Chavez Ravine. And it's kind of fitting that it's all come back to the Hotel California here on the final Wednesday of Wednesday Night Baseball. I mentioned Belcher 84 and 78. That going into the year, he's 94 and 88. That's his lifetime mark now. This is Reckless Rex the Wonder Dog, Rex Hudler. You talk about a guy that will fear no evil. He's a perfect guy to have in there tonight when the Angels are facing what seem to be insurmountable odds.
Now he's got an awful lot of heart, and I'm sure enjoying the opportunity to get things back on the right track for the Angels. Number gives them the dimension of speed. He can run a little bit.
Well, he can run through walls is what he can do.
He'll do that for you.
Oh,
too.
yeah, no doubt about that. Catchers are just mildly in the way. Hudler lays down a bunt. Well, no, it hit him in the batter's box. And so we saw Rich Garcia on top of it, and that had the Mariners fooled.
Rich Garcia very adamant with his call. It was a breaking ball. Hudler dropped it down, but it hit the dirt and came right back up and hit him while he was still in the batter's box. So Richie Garcia waved it dead immediately. Hudler looked down to third base, saw Blowers back a bit, decided to try to drop the bunt down, but you could see before he got out of the batter's box, that ball made contact with him.
1-2 the count on Hudler with a 1 out. The base is clear. Chops it foul into the Mariner dugout. He's had a few uniforms in his day, has Reckless Rex. Rifles that one off the screen. A rebound play made by fans in the front row. Bells and Mariners sweatshirts and hats and excitement and everybody in town talking Mariners. 19 years his team has had only 2 winning records going into this season. After one of them, they fired manager Jim Lefebvre. Little chopper. Like Blowers, forget it. Hudler runs a little bit, and Blowers knew it and does not attempt the throw. So good hustle by the Angels, and they have their 3rd hit of the late afternoon.
Well, with 2 strikes, Blowers was deep at third base, and Rex Hudler got that swinging bunt on a forkball from Tim Belcher. See how deep Blowers is at third? He tops it down the third base line, and Hudler, as he always does, hustles out of the box. Blowers got a great arm, but sizes up the situation and decides to put that ball in his pocket. Well, we told you, when you put Hudler in the lineup, you know one thing, you're going to get a lot of hustle. He streaks down the first baseline and has himself a 1-out single.
Get out of the way. Well, Belcher's given up 3 hits, Buck, but only one of them hit hard, the double by Davis. Salmon with a little flare, with it was an RBI. And now Hudler with a little infield chopper. You saw his steal numbers, and again, you wonder, it's bottom of the order here. The Angels looking to get anything going. Sending Phillips in the first inning prevented a possible double play.
Well, they can gamble right here. They've got that 2-run cushion now. Greg Myers had 3 hits in the ballgame yesterday, including a homer and a triple. So if they want to gamble a bit, they can start the runner at first base.
There goes the runner, and it's back to the pitcher, Belcher. And again, the runner going prevents a double play. So the Angels doing things we haven't seen for a while, and partly because they're at even or they have a lead. And Marcel Atzman told us before they will do anything to get things going, and it's worked thus far.
Well, you see Hudler got a good break at first base. Belcher gets the comebacker off the bat of Myers, and look how he looks at second. Nope, nothing there. He'll take the sure out. Hudler slides into second base, and for the second time by the Angels starting the runners, they avoid a possible double play. Soho was there at second, but they had no shot at Hudler. So Belcher goes to Martinez at first for the out.
So Myers now will put on the shin guards. That'll bring up Tony Phillips, who walked and scored the first Angel run. His walk, by the way, the 107th walk that he has drawn this season, a new California record. The previous set in 1987 by Brian 10 Downing Street with 106. There's a shortened season here, so we're setting records. We have Buhner with a Mariner RBI record and others. That's what Tony Phillips has meant. I like the call, but it's a strike on the corner, 1-1.
What Phillips has to do, and he mentioned this before the ball game, was lay off that high pitch. That's the pitch that gets him into trouble. And when he was in this recent hitting slump, he started to expand his strike zone and chase those high pitches, and it resulted in a lot of fly ball outs. He's got a lot of power when he makes the pitcher get the ball down around the knees. That's what Belcher's trying to do, get him to chase that ball upstairs.
So he has walked 107 times. He struck out 129 times. Interesting numbers for a leadoff man. Here's another one. The run he scored, 117th run he scored this season. The leader in the league is Edgar Martinez with 118. As leadoff man for the way California was hitting the ball this year. Not surprising he's over 100 runs. Good pitch by Belcher. Count is 2-2 now with 2 down. A couple of good location pitches in this at bat for Belcher.
Belcher's really confident working to the outside part of the plate early in this game. He's got a good feel for that outside corner for left-handed hitters. The Angels are going to have to make some adjustments and try to go out there and get that pitch. Wilson set up out there again.
Phillips, a ball that this time is snared by Tino Martinez. Oh, if you don't feel pennant fever in this building, I don't know when you will. Hudler stranded second, going to the bottom of the second, 2-0 California. Bottom of the second inning, the Mariners now have made a good defensive play, and they're hoping to salve Chuck Finley. 4, 5, 6 in Seattle's order here in the bottom of the second inning in a packed Kingdome. And it's a 4:30 start, so it's after school, and kids and senior citizens and parents alike all here to see if they can be a little part of history. Edgar Martinez certainly with a 20-point lead with just 5 games to go, streaking toward his second American League batting crown, 354.
Boy, that's a wicked forkball right there. Finley, by many accounts, hitters around the American League, he has one of the better forkballs in all the baseball, boy. And when he gets it working, he'll drive hitters crazy. He keeps opponents right around the 250 average, and it doesn't make any difference. Lefty or righty, they're all about the same. That's another good one.
Canada's 1-2.
Edgar Martinez has a .415 average against left-handed pitchers, but he always has trouble against Chuck Finley. That's because Finley makes him think 2 different planes. He runs that fastball upstairs on the inside, and then he throws that split finger pitch down and away from him. Now you see what he's done against Finley on his career.
Rip it foul past the third base coach, Sammy Perlazzo. Jay Buhner is on deck. And both Edgar Martinez been in the system since '83, and Buhner been here almost that long. They know better than anyone else here with the Mariners what this day-night means, or potentially could mean. Buhner setting a new team record yesterday for RBI. Edgar hits it pretty well to right center field. Edmonds is over to the edge of the track, and so another long fly ball out for Seattle, but there are some pitchers that made a heck of a career getting long fly ball outs, a couple of whom are in the Hall of Fame, named Catfish and Palmer.
Yeah, those are hang with them. The guys hit them good, but they just die in the outfield. Go back to the bench. Everybody goes, hey, hit it good.
Way to go.
You'll get them next time.
So Edgar is out, and here's Jay Buhner breaking the old RBI mark here in Seattle, set by Alvin Davis. Of 116 in 1984. Buhner also hit his 12th homer of September yesterday, which is a new Mariner record for any month at any season. The old mark, one of our favorites, Stormin Gorman Thomas with 11. Buhner under this one, and this time Edmonds comes in a tad. So there have been 5 putouts, 3 by the center fielder thus far for California. And there are 2 outs. Mike Blowers is up. The keepers citing Buck for all the things they've done. Edgar Martinez going for second batting title. Jay Buhner, RBI record for the franchise. Mike Blowers, 3 grand slams in 1 month in about a 2-week period in the month of August, the last being off Sim Wakefield, one of 4 Mariners who has over 90 RBI.
Well, anytime you see a team trying to win a division championship, you'll see a lot of players enjoying career seasons.
Well, there's Buhner with the Buhner buzz. They had the Buhner buzz cut night last year, and 50 fans got in because they came in with Buhner buzz cuts. They got in for free.
Now watch how Finley works over Blowers here. Blowers has a lot of power down and out over that plate. He stands well off the plate. He wants the ball away from him, but so far Finley is trying to coax him to chase that fastball off the plate outside. Came inside with the fastball and missed. What Finley is trying to do is set up the inner half of the plate for later on in the ball game. If he puts outside on Blowers' mind early in the game, then he will make the adjustment to hit that pitch, and then Finley can come back inside, and Blowers is more vulnerable later on in the game.
Pitch over the outside portion of the plate. He's the diving to Sarcina, and the Mariners have their first base hit of the late afternoon. A 2-out single by Mike Blowers. He'll take off the shin guards and go to work on the base pass with Tino Martinez coming up.
This is the breaking ball right here. You see how he starts it out over the plate. Blowers goes out and gets it. Finley may have got a piece of that ball as he gets it through the infield. Sarcina with a dive can't come up with it. It's a 2-out single for Blowers. Harry Sarcina smashes hard into that Kingdome AstroTurf. And now Chuck Finley with 2 outs will work to a hitter that has given him all kinds of trouble, Tino Martinez.
Tino Martinez with 3 RBIs in yesterday's 10-2 Seattle win, which put them on the brink. Here's another of those Mariners with over 90 RBIs. Tino with 108, 6th in the league. And you see the home run total of 31. So Tino is having his best season, certainly, as a pro. Although Lou Piniella is quick to point out, you know, they won 9 of 10 when the strike hit last year, and at that point, that last month of the season, Tino Martinez was becoming the hitter that you've seen this year. And of course, Chuck Finley knows it. He's 5 for 11. Last year, Martinez hit 20 homers, so this is 31. He's just a .254 lifetime hitter, although twice in AAA in 90 and 91, he hit over .320 with the Calgary Cannon. So they've been waiting for it. They've gotten him this year, a big-time, big league hitter. Out wide. There it is. You think they know the numbers?
They got them all there.
Well, that's another story which we'll get into here, and a question of whether the government now with the vote, the absentee ballots to be counted, finish up being counted tomorrow. And there it is, Olympia, which is the state capital up here. Just build it. They will come. They have come 50,000 strong the last 5 games, ripped and fouled.
Finley has come inside a couple of times, and you see more signs around the Kingdome about the proposed new stadium.
Call your state representative now. Don't let the team get sold and let them move. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll get into that a little later. This ball is up and outside, a full count now, 3-2. So obviously Blowers running from first. Throw past Snow. It's going to be real trouble under the Angels bullpen. Blowers is going to go all the way to third.
I don't really understand why the Angels would try a play like this in this situation. They've got a 2-run lead, 3-2 count. Marcel Latchman is watching as they put a pickoff play on. Look at Snow behind the runner. He breaks behind. But Sammy Mejias, the first base coach, alerts Blowers. The ball gets away. Snow never got a glove on it. It goes all the way down into the bullpen. And by the time they retrieve it, Mike Blowers ends up on third base.
Finley rattles, throws it wide and in the dirt. And now he's walked Tino Martinez. So I was wondering what kind of pitch Finley would come with. Had the error to him, had to rattle him, runners at the corners.
Well, I think that was a breaking ball he threw by design. He didn't want to mess with Tino Martinez in that situation. He'll start with a fresh count for Felix Fermin. He's hitting under 200. 3-2 count to Tino Martinez, and Finley goes with a breaking ball. It's in the dirt. Myers does a good job of keeping it in front of him.
So Blowers is the runner at third and Tino Martinez at first. 2 out. Mariners trailing 2-0. Bottom of the second inning, and Felix the Cat Fermin is up. Let's see what is in his bag of tricks. Ground ball. Hudler knocks it down. Wide, but Snow is on the base, and a diving Fermin can't get there in time. So the crowd was on its feet, but Hudler stayed with it. 2-0 California after 2. 2-0 Angels, the top of the third. An interesting moment for Rex Hudler.
Well, we've seen some great defense in this ball game already. Rex Hudler, at second baseman, got a tough play at second. You see, he has to go to his left. He knocks the ball down. It gets away from him, but watch how he stays after it. He knows Fermin doesn't run that well. He's still got a chance to get the third out of the inning, and he makes a good throw to J.T. Snow at first base. Watch Fermin come out of the box. He hits it sharply, and then he hesitates. Right there, he hesitated momentarily because he saw the ball, and then he sees it get away, and he tries to slide at first base, but he just didn't get down the line quick enough to beat the throw.
So the Angels start the third inning with a 2-0 lead. This is a team that until they led at Texas, it had a lead in 84 innings. So they had that 5-0 win against Texas on Sunday.
Gary DeSarcina tore the ligaments in his thumb on August 3rd, sliding into second base. And he has come back awfully quick here. Still not 100% strong.
It's a grounder to his opposite, Soho, over to Tino Martinez, and DeSarcina is gone. Let's go to John Saunders.
Well, Chris, the Texas Rangers and Will Clark are 4 games back in the wild card race, and Will Clark is trying to keep him in that race. Solo home run is second in as many nights, 15th of the year, and right now the Rangers lead it 2-0. Chris and Buck.
Well, the Angels certainly now looking for outside help. They'd like the Rangers to fall to stay in it, because it's the Rangers who are playing the Mariners the last 4 games of the season. Swinging to the first pitch is Jim Edmonds. Tino Martinez underhands to Belcher, and very quickly 2 up, 2 down here in the California third inning.
All right, now the Mariners are getting some easy outs because the Angels are swinging at those borderline pitches. Belcher is doing a good job of exploiting the strike zone. Watch this pitch. They're trying to go down and away, but the ball stays up, and that's not a good pitch for Edmonds to go after on the first pitch. Boy, when they were hot, they were really selective. They were very patient, waiting for their pitch and making the pitcher come to them.
So that'll bring up Tim Salmon, who picked up RBI 101 in the first inning with the 2-out flare to right center. Blading Tony Phillips, and Salmon came around to score. Run number 107 when he was driven in by Chili Davis, who doubled. That's where we stand, 2-0 here, top of the third inning, on a clinch of at least a tie night, possibly, for Seattle. California trying to stop it for once and for all. Count is 1-1 to Tim Salmon. We told you earlier, Salmon during this scheme since August 15th, his average is 343. His average before was 329. He's the one angel that has hit his weight during the collapse, and he can't call it anything other than a collapse.
Well, it has been a total team problem because they have not pitched well. They have really not hit in the clutch at all. Tim Salmon has been consistent. Boy, you talk to every angel on that team, and they all shake their head, marveling at how consistent he has been.
Well, he's consistent enough to fly ball to left, but not quite enough under it as Vince Coleman is there to grab it. So, for the first time this afternoon, a 1-2-3 inning for Tim Belcher. 2-0 California to the bottom. We continue with big ball games. Mike Piazza and the Los Angeles Dodgers trying to win the rubber game against the Colorado Rockies. They've seesawed back and forth the last 2 nights in first place in the West. Tonight it's the Rockies who go in with a half-a-game lead. Can they win again as they did last night? Rockies, Dodgers following us as we go down the pipe to Chavez Ravine.
Bichette with 39 home runs leads the National League. Piazza got 31. He missed all that time with that
Unbelievable
injury early in the year.
Well, the Mariners begin here down 2-0 in the third with the number 9 hitter Dan Wilson, and at the top of the order with Vince Coleman and Luis Sojo. Wilson, one of the many former Reds, and the reason we bring that up obviously is that manager Lou Piniella certainly knows what he had in Cincinnati when he managed there in 90, 91, 92. Wilson was the young backup behind Joe Oliver, and I remember Lou and I had a conversation in 92. He said, this young kid is really good, and they got him along with Ayala and a controversial trade for Brett Boone and Eric Hansen. It sounds as if the Reds got nothing in that deal either, but boy, the Mariners have a backstop that they can count on here every game.
Well, Dan Wilson played an awful lot for Lou Piniella in spring training, so he got a sense for the leadership qualities Wilson brings to this ball club. He really likes the way he handles the pitching staff. Boy, that's another wicked forkball from Finley.
That time Finley handled Wilson, and he will sit down. Let's kick it over to John Saunders.
Well, Chris, the Texas Rangers aren't going to go down easy. Just ask the Oakland A's here. Rusty Greer belts his 13th of the year. Tettleton and Pudge Rodriguez aboard. It's now 5-0 game in the second inning. Chris and Buck.
All right, John, thank you. The Mariners fly from here tonight to Texas. They'll get in about 3 o'clock local time tomorrow, and they play 4 games. Randy Johnson to go tomorrow, and how long he goes depending on the result here this evening. Pitch is inside of Vince Coleman, ball 1. Johnson and Chris Bosio are already in Texas. So I guess that's a good guess of who's going to go the first 2 nights in that series for Seattle. Unless Diego Segui comes back to make a surprise start.
Well, Randy Johnson goes tomorrow for sure. Chris Bosio's down there. Cy Johnson.
I think so.
Boy,
I would think so.
That's pretty accurate. Mariners are 25-3 when Randy Johnson goes to the mound.
There'll be another Randy Johnson note in a moment as the count is 1-1 to Coleman. Of course, he gives so many of them, the strikeout leader, etc. Coleman swings and misses at a Finley fastball. I know we're going a long way, and boy, it's funny. You walk around town here today, Buck, and yesterday, and people are saying, who do you think the Mariners would match up better against in the World Series? You know, I quote the McKenzie brothers to their fans and say, slow down, eh? But if Randy Johnson gets to the series, he'd be the last American League pitcher to lead the league in strikeouts and pitch in a World Series since, it's a tough one, 60s, in the 60s. Bring on Atlanta, see? Slow down, eh? Jim Lonborg, 1967 Red Sox. The link with that statement, and I'm going wild here, Lonborg pitched here in Seattle for the Seattle Rainiers when they were the Red Sox farm club in the 60s. We're done linking. It's 3-2 to Coleman with 1 out, bases clear. 2-0 California, and Finley has come out, and what seems like jumping into the flames, he has the asbestos suit on this ball. Ground ball in the hole. DeSarcina, nice stretch by Snow, and there's 2 outs. And as soon as it's hit, DeSarcina knows it's Vince Coleman. I got a turn.
Well, you know, we talked so much about the loss of DeSarcina. They sure missed his bat. He was hitting around 320 when he got hurt, but they really missed the solid defense at short. Coleman with great speed hits the ball to DeSarcina's right, and look how quickly he plants and fires. He knows Coleman runs very well, and J.T. Snow, with the great stretch at first base, they help him out. They get Coleman by a big stride at first base. Fine defensive play.
This is Luis Sojo, who hit a line shot that was diving. J.T. Snow snared in the first inning. Luis Sojo from Venezuela. Blue Jays in 90, California in 91, 92, back to the Jays in 93, and then here to Seattle in 94. Went to California in that Devon White trade, by the way, from Toronto originally. It's a long time ago. The count of 3-0 to Sojo, and with 2 outs, you don't want to put Sojo on with Griffey in the on-deck box. That's for sure. Taking all the way is Sojo. That's a strike by Finley.
Well, Ken Griffey standing on deck will get an awful lot of batters. Pretty good pitches to hit with a 3-1 count. So Sojo's all geared up for that fastball.
Now Finley did just that. He's been pitching very well. But now the Mariners have a base runner, and Ken Griffey Jr. coming up, who took Jim Edmonds to the wall in center field in the first inning before Edmonds snared it.
The Mariners believe that they really got started on this hot streak at the end of the 95 season when Ken Griffey Jr. hit a home run to win a ball game off John Wetland here at Kingdome.
No doubt about it. Swings and misses. That date, Buck, was August the 24th. Since that time, they've won 22 of 30. So you can document it. And Junior says it was the first game he'd ever won with the last swing. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, you would think that that would have happened to him before.
Right field. Salmon is there and squeezes it. Sojo is stranded, and Finley continues to impress. We've played 3 at the Kingdome, 2-0 California. ESPN Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by your local Sherwin-Williams paint and decorating stores. Ask Sherwin-Williams, America's neighborhood place for paint. I tell you what, if the Mariners come back to beat the Angels here, they'll be painting the town tonight. Even though the team will be gone on its way to Texas, those behind will be reveling, and of course I wouldn't know who that would be. The Angels lead the Mariners 2-0 here in the top of the 4th inning with 2 runs in the first, both with 2 outs, a single by Salmon, a double by that man, Chili Davis. Davis, Snow, and Garrett Anderson to come up here in the 4th against Tim Belcher. Charles Theodore Davis. Average at 315. And a breaking ball by Belcher is in there for a strike. Chili with 81 RBIs now, and driving in runs is something that he has done certainly as an Angel. Ripped to right field, and this is fair. Davis around first, Buhner in the corner to play it. So for the second time this afternoon, Chili Davis a double to right.
Well, that time he got up on top of that fastball that sometimes gives him trouble. Belcher trying to come up and in on him. Didn't get it in far enough, and Davis was able to keep it fair. See the target from his catcher? He wants it up and in, but this time Davis gets to it and drives it down into the right field corner.
So the crowd is quiet here as Chili his career best under 12 RBIs 2 seasons ago with California. Driven one in, and now we hope to score a run with J.T. Snow up. Snow tries the opposite way. It's a foul ball. Snow grounded his second his first time up.
Now J.T. Snow has got to pull this ball. He's got to really fight to pull the ball and advance Chili Davis. Take advantage of that leadoff double. There's a lot of holes on the right side of the infield. He can hit a sharp grounder through there. But they really got to take advantage of that leadoff double. There you see the defense playing him around the pool.
Well, that's been one of the things. Obviously, when you go through 2 9-game losing streaks in about 6 weeks, One in less than that. One starting in late August, and the other from the 13th to the 23rd of this month. The Marcel Laxman's club really has not done the simple things like moving your runner over like you just described, Buck.
Well, early in the year, they didn't even have to think about it. The guy get a double, next guy pull it to the right side. And it's especially important now with J.T. Snow has a 1-2 count on him. He's really got the fight to salvage this at bat. And a productive at bat, a productive ground ball out will do that.
Low and away, count is 2-2. Snow is among all the Angels, Buck, as one who has fallen off just about the most. 309 to the middle of August, 216 since then. This will be a big hit if he could pick him up right here. Davis at second with none out. To inside. Did it hit him? It hit the bat first.
Well, that got an awful lot of meat. Reggie Garcia heard it hit the bat. He's standing right there at home plate. But it hit right around his forearms, his hands, or something. It didn't really have a ringing bat sound.
Count remains at 2-2. 2-0 California, top of the fourth. Chris Berman and Buck Martinez with you from the Kingdome in Seattle. Or as they like to call it, if you look at this building from the outside, the huge orange juice squeezer or the large cheeseburger. And it's full today with lots of folks popping cheeseburgers and dogs and sodas and what have you. Ripped to second base, and there you go. Exactly what we described. Snow does his job, so does Fermin. There is one out, and Davis over to third.
Well, he got himself in a hole, but he really battled to move the base runner, and you can see his teammates acknowledging a good at-bat for J.T. Snow. That puts a lot of pressure on the Mariner defense now. They've got to draw the infield in, trying to keep the Angels at bay. Tim Belcher gave up the leadoff double. Chili Davis now at third base. The infield he's playing in, trying to cut off that third run.
So we saw the fundamental hit to the right side, move the runner to third. Now the one-out fundamental fly ball, bring in the third run of the game. Anderson hit a fly ball to left, leading off the second inning with Vince Coleman corral. High and outside, ball one. Garrett Anderson, the Los Angeles product, Banana Hills High School. And Lou Piniella is going to come out and talk to Belcher. The bullpen just got up, Buck, so this is Lou, not the pitching coach, Cuellar, going out.
That's Bob Walcott down there in the bullpen warming up. Lou Piniella's going out here to talk strategy. This has nothing to do with pitching, mechanics, or anything like that. He just wants to find out what Belcher and Wilson are thinking about right now as they approach Garrett Anderson. He said, here's a 325 hitter. We're down 2 already. Sacrifice fly puts us down by 3. Let's make sure we've got the right game plan here. Anderson is a very good low ball hitter. But you want to pitch him down to get the ground ball in the infield. You get him upstairs, you get that fly ball. Took something off that pitch, had him out in front. Tell you one thing, you give Tim Belcher a game plan, he'll execute it for you. Remember, Lou Piniella was a great hitter. So a lot of times he thinks like a hitter as a manager, and he'll go out there and talk things over with his pitcher.
Well, Lou has kind of sat back and said, you know, we made all these acquisitions. Now the guys just have to go out and do it, and they certainly have done that. Picked up Vince Coleman, he picked up Venice. Ground ball. Chile will stay as Fermin makes the play over to Tino Martinez. There are 2 outs. And so Belcher does a good job of making sure Anderson keeps the ball on the ground. Nice job by Piniella and Belcher combined.
Now he says stay in. He's talking to Flowers right there because Rex Hudler dropped down a bunt his first time up. So he wants Blowers to stay even with the bag so Hudler can't think about that 2-out bunt.
Well, Hudler tried to bunt his way on in the second, ended up getting a little infield hit. He's got the good wheels, and Belcher starts him up with a strike.
And believe me, Rex Hudler is the kind of guy that will look for any kind of openings on the infield. And then enough speed to take advantage of it. Right now, he's had one of his options taken away.
Just misses inside. Count is 1-1. Chili Davis standing at third base, hoping to touch the dish, as they say. Need more than 2 runs. They want to quell the Mariners. And that hit Hudler, and he'll go down to first base. He didn't wait to see if the ump, Rich Garcia, noticed that he was on to first already.
Well, you see Belcher took a couple of steps in and asked Richie Garcia, that hit him? That's not exactly what Piniella had in his mind. That probably just brushed his shirt because Hudler really got out of the way quickly. It's an inside fastball. Boy, Richie's got great ears, doesn't he? He heard that hit his shirt, and Hudler sold it to him as he bolted down to first base.
He was gone. So now runners at the corners for the catcher, Greg Myers. Here goes Hudler. Wilson will not offer a throw, so a stolen base by Hudler, number 9 for him this year. So now a single will plate 2.
Boy, Belcher didn't even stop Hudler. He had a running lead at first base. Hudler now perfect 9 for 9 on the season. And Belcher just cost himself another runner in scoring position. Myers has been a hot hitter. 3 hits here yesterday,
including a homer. Fastball up top, but it got the corner, and it's 1-1. Now the Angels' little life on that bench, you can see, Buck.
See, Myers has come through in run-producing situations. 319 average.
Ooh, good job by Wilson on a 58-footer.
Chris, you know what that does to a pitcher's confidence? He is so confident now that if he has to throw that split finger pitch, he can throw it as hard as he wants to. And even if he bounces it in front of the plate, Wilson's going to smother it. What a good job by Dan Wilson right there. Saved a run.
Gets under it. Junior over. So is Buhner. Junior makes the catch, and the California Angels strand a pair in scoring position. Belcher wriggles free. 2-0 California, bottom of the 4th. Bottom of the 4th here in Seattle. The Mariners trailing the Angels 2-0, but here comes the heart. And we're at the heart of baseball for you on Sunday. Any meaningful game you will see on ESPN. Our coverage begins at 4 Eastern. Even if a game or two begins a little early, we'll be on at 4, and then ESPN 2. You see the Yankees, Toronto, and Houston, and the Cubs. So the Mariners, Rangers, the Giants, the Rockies, the A's, the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Padres. That's what's coming your way on ESPN Sunday, leading into prime time. I remember that Dodger-Giant game 3 years ago into prime time. Was a great afternoon for watching baseball and football. We hope you can join us again. As the heart of rock and roll is the beaten, and this is the heart of the order. Edgar Martinez, looking for his 2nd batting title in the American League. When he won the batting title in 1992 with a .343 average, it was the highest winning total by a right-hander in the American League since Harvey Keene in 1959. So he would break that mark, and we'd have to go farther back if he continued at the .354 clip. Past the diving Phillips, Martinez is on. Edgar 1 for 2, and more importantly, he's the leadoff man here in the 4th.
Edgar Martinez is just a pure hitting machine right there with 2 strikes. He gets that ball away from him and drives it by a diving Tony Phillips at 3rd. When Lou Piniella first got here, Edgar Martinez hurt himself in spring training, pulled a hamstring. And he kept hearing about this great hitter, Edgar Martinez, but he didn't see him for almost a year and a half. This year, he says, now I understand what these people were talking about. this guy can flat out hit.
So can this guy at the plate. Jay Buhner. Crowd will tell you he can hit. Chops this one foul. You know, this is, people forget this, that there's so many ex-Reds on the team. Buck that played for Pinella. Belcher pitched there, of course, in '92, and Dan Wilson and Charlton here. Jay Buhner played briefly for Pinella with the Yankees in the late '80s. It's a long time ago. Ground ball to Phillips. Hudler. Snow. Double play. This is an advantage the Angels have over the Mariners, and really of all the contending teams in the American League, infield defense with this Arcina, who was the only one not involved with that play, they're probably the best, Buck.
Now, Tony Phillips gets this ball on the big bounce, makes a good strong throw to Hudler. Looks how Hudler hangs in there against Martinez, who's all over him. He completes the double play over to J.T. Snow, and boy, I tell you, these put him in these guys' hands and they can execute. Now they've got their shortstop back. Everybody is back in their rightful position, and J.T. Snow is a real anchor over there at first.
Mike Flowers up, singled in the second inning, went to third when Finley's errant pickoff throw eluded J.T. Snow, but was stranded there when Fermin grounded out to end the inning. So two pitchers that have been in some big games before, and they have both come up pretty big thus far, especially Chuck Finley, who is one of the two holdovers from the last time the Angels were in the postseason. Chuck Finley was a youngster on the 1986 California Angels team that was one pitch away from going to the World Series. Baylor hit the homer in Game 5 off Donnie Moore. The Red Sox won in Game 6 and Game 7. Finley pitched 3 times in relief in that series, pitched 3 times very well. He and Schofield, the only ones left. Henderson hit the homer, of course. It was quite the game. That's in '86, and there we are in 1995. And good pitch by Finley to end the inning. So a double play ball and a strikeout here for Finley in the fourth. 2-0 Angels. Eating, drinking, and he has been Murray, and so have the Indians. They are in. Who will represent the West, the Angels or the Mariners? 2-0 here. The Angels lead the Mariners, cut Seattle's lead to 2, and cut the Yankees lead to 1 in the wild card chase if they can win and stop what has been some serious bleeding. Tony Phillips, Gary DeSarcini, Jim Edmonds to lead it off. It was not altogether. If Seattle and California both get in, if Seattle wins the West and California gets in as a wild card, the Mariners would open with Cleveland. Boston would open with California. If Seattle wins the West and the Yankees get in, Seattle would open at New York on Tuesday. Boston would open with Cleveland. Well, there's so much still in the offing. Of course, California gets to win the West. That's another scenario. But this is what you need to know. 1.5 back of the Yankees they would be. I said 1, I erred. 1.5 back. The Yankees won last night and today. So it's weird. Since California lost yesterday, the Yankees have won 2 games. The Angels have an extra game, as do the Mariners. Really, if you're looking that way, the Yankees have just 4 to go, not including tonight. The Yankees have 3 to go, and California and Seattle have 4 to go, not including tonight. Phillips is aboard with a walk for the second time this afternoon to lead off an inning. Well, Pinella knows that he's going to reach for the phone. He's also going to remind Belcher that Phillips is going to be gone. They're going to make something happen again, Buck.
Well, they've got to make sure they stop Tony Phillips. He has really not been stopped at first base. Bobby Cuellar, the first-year pitching coach here in Seattle, on the phone, and bullpen will go back to work.
Grizzly and Nelson and Ayala and Charlton would be the plan if they're ahead. You saw Wolcott before. We'll see who gets up down there. Guterman is the lefty. Lee Guterman. Got Wolcott again. Gary DiSarcina has grounded his short twice. Squares to bunt. Pulls it back. Takes it for a strike.
Well, if he intends to bunt here, he's going to have to do it down the first base line. Tino Martinez is a right-handed fielder. There you see the rooster, Rick Burleson, going through the series of signs. Now they can give DiSarcina the opportunity to hit runs. See, Flowers is drawn into third. Martinez holding the runner at first. Mariners expecting bunt here.
Bunted by DiSarcina, a good one. Tino Martinez over to the second baseman, Fermin covering, and Phillips down to second base with one out.
Well, the Angels have done everything that they haven't been doing for the last 4 weeks. They've done it perfectly here tonight. DiSarcina puts the ball down the first base line. Tino Martinez has to make the play. The second baseman Fermin covering, and they execute the sacrifice.
They've done almost everything except Garrett Anderson not getting the sac fly. They've done everything else. This is Jim Edmonds now. They get 2 cracks at a single with Edmonds and Salmon, both with over 100 RBIs. You would think that one of the two of them could pick up Phillips as Soho cheats in behind him for a possible play on.
See, Jim Edmonds right now is really in between. The last time up, he swung at a high fastball and made an out on the first pitch. There, he got a pretty good fastball that he was wearing out earlier, and he took it. Lots of things going on in his mind, and early in the season, he was really locked in. Anytime he got his pitch, he hit it hard somewhere. And this will happen even to the greatest of hitters from time to time. They'll get in a mental slump where they've got a few too many things on their mind. Thinking what he's going to do next. Drop that forkball on me, pound me inside, and then before you know it, you're taking a fastball right down the middle.
Little chopper. Belcher quickly off the mound. Going to take care of Evans. And Phillips is going to third. Martinez's throw is late. So good job of base running by Tony Phillips, waiting but having enough of a lead to fire over to third base.
I think Tony Phillips expected Tim Belcher to looking back at second. Watch Belcher come off the mound on this swinging bunt off the bat of Edmonds. Phillips is way off, and he never ever looked at the base runner at second. Tino Martinez's throw to third is late. Watch Phillips read this play. He said, wait a minute, it's right there. I expect him to go back. But when he didn't look him back at all, Phillips took advantage of it and moved into third base.
And the Rooster is saying, get down. And he did. A good job by Phillips. The Angels, though, Buck, now 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The one Salmon single, which picked up Phillips in the first inning. And Timmy is up again to try and duplicate it. Just needs a little bloop with Phillips at third base. To the outside corner. Salmon turn around, so it blew out, but I think Garcia's been pretty consistent tonight, Buck, behind the plate.
Yeah, he has always got a pretty narrow strike zone. That's why Salmon had that unusual reaction. He might have just turned around and said, hey, Richie, what do you think? And Richie might have said, hey, yeah, maybe it was outside. I'll give it a better look next time. And that will happen. Those conversations do occur where an umpire sometimes will say, yeah, you know, I might have not really seen that one that well. So stick with me. I'll bear down and get you a good call next time.
Belcher trying to end the California threat here in the 5th.
This is where Phillips really has to be heads up, anticipating that forkball in the dirt.
Strike 3, says Dale Ford at first. Salmon is gone. So are the Angels. Belcher wriggles free again. To the bottom of the 5th inning we go. 2-0 California.
But he goes after it First base umpire Dale Ford down at first base rings up Tim Salmon, and yet another Angel base runner is stranded.
They left 4 runners in scoring position from 5. They have the 2-0 lead. Will it come back to bite them? Tino Martinez, Felix Fermin, Dan Wilson, 7-8-9 up against Chuck Finley, who has given up only a pair of singles thus far. One to Blowers in the second, one to Martinez Edgar in the fourth. Towards the hole, Hudler has been busy, and he's been accurate. There's one out with Felix Fermin coming up, and hey, the hits just keep on coming. Tomorrow night, it's college football from Thursday. Maryland, number 7-8, John Miller, eat your heart out. Maryland at Georgia Tech at the Ramblin' Wreck from Bobby Dodd Stadium. As number 17, the Terps go in. And you can see it right here. Terps are 4-0 for the first time since 1978. We'll have the pregame on before it. College football wall to wall along with the baseball here in this final week of the baseball season, just turning into college football. With the Ivy League teams entering their 3rd week of play this week, so even I'm following college football now. This is Felix Fermin. Count is 0-1. And you hear the crowds. A ground ball to short. This Arcini is up, and there's 2 down. We started to talk before about the stadium situation. There's 3,000 absentee ballots to count, and they're conveniently going to wait till tomorrow till the Mariners are out of town. But it looks like the proposed sales tax increase, which would amount up to $7.50 a year per person, $7.50 a year for 20 years to all the residents of King County. It looks like that vote is going to go down by 1,500 votes in a ballot of over 500,000. 49.86% said yes, and barely over it said no. What it would have done was just $7.50 a year, pay for $240 million, new stadium with retractable roof, the repair bill for the Kingdome when the Mariners had to move out of town last year, and the Seahawks did too, and a $100 million upgrade of the Kingdome where the Seahawks will play. The pressure is on as Dan Wilson is up to have the government step in. That slices foul. The government, the state government, to step in and come up with some other plan to get a new stadium going, which wouldn't be ready till the '97 season. But yet the owners say if that doesn't happen, they will put the team up for sale and it might move. So, hey, Governor, Ken Griffey and all the players vocal about it. And it shows you get a winning team, they're going to come out. It's very simple. They waited long enough. I mean, they were enthusiastic early, but they wait long enough. Only 2 winning seasons in 18. And now I think the way the Mariners have played have put the pedal to the metal at the state government in Olympia. And had the vote been taken maybe even a week later with the absentees, it might have won. But it doesn't mean that the vote loses, the Mariners are gone. It just means that is a possibility. Meanwhile, playoff tickets on sale now. There are 5,000 left for the first time the Mariners have ever printed playoff tickets in their 19-year history. It's nice of Dan Wilson to have a long at bat so I could spit that all out. It's 2-2 with 2 out and none on.
See, that's a very accommodating catcher for
you. Catchers are nice. You know, you understand. You have the view of the entire field. That's what I like about you catchers, Buck. Wilson, a fly ball to right field. Plenty of room for Tim Salmon, who is there. And a 1-2-3 inning for Chuck Finley. So far, it has not been sweet. We are back here at the Kingdome, and the California Angels behind a brilliant job on the mound from Chuck Finley, with giving up only 2 hits through 5. And you know what kind of hitting the Mariners came into this game with. Finley has quelled them thus far. And California will lead it with Chili Davis, J.T. Snow, and Garrett Anderson. And we're seeing an all-star performance from an all-star pitcher. Chuck named to the all-star team for the 3rd time in his career. He's twice won 18 games for the Angels, but none have been wins tonight. This will be as big a win as he has ever had. Chili Davis has doubled twice down the right field line, the first of which drove in the 2nd run in the 1st inning. Chili swinging at the first pitch, fouls it off.
Well, it's very appropriate that Chili Davis and Chuck Finley would really set the tone for the Angels here tonight. There's no question about Chuck Finley needed to come out and shut down the Mariners early. His last start, he gave up 5 runs in the 1st inning. Back-to-back home runs to Juan Gonzalez and Mickey Tettleton. They lost 5-1 to the Texas Rangers. Both of these pitchers have been outstanding tonight. Bouncer giving up just 4 hits, but The Angels have been able to cash that in with 2 runs.
Not that surprised, are you, Buck?
No. These guys are competitors. They know the significance of this game.
Well, we mentioned that Chili Davis is struck out, and that's a sigh of relief in addition to a loud roar from the fans here at the Kingdome. And there's one gone for J.T. Snow.
Great pitch right here. It's a fastball. Chili Davis just gets locked up. Belcher paints the outside corner. Richie Garcia rings him up. Second strikeout in a row for Tim Belcher.
Well, we talked before that Finley had pitched in the postseason 3 times in '86. Pitched 3 times very well in relief. Swinging at the first pitch is J.T. Snow. Jr. doesn't have to move very far. And there's 2 up, 2 down here for Tim Belcher. Belcher has pitched 4 times in the for his record in the postseason is 4-0. In '88 with the Dodgers was 2-0 against the Mets. And the NLCS was 1-0 against the Oakland A's. And as the Dodgers won that series in 5 games. And then with the White Sox, won a game against the Blue Jays in '93. So his record in postseason is 4-0. Garrett Anderson. Count is 2-0.
You know, Anderson has done a real good job of becoming more patient as the season wore on. He got more confident at the plate. He was confident he could take those borderline strikes. Worked the count into his favor as he's done here against Belcher. His strength is inner half and low, and man, can he turn on a low fastball.
Anderson walks with 2 out. So for Belcher, he has walked 3 and hit about it tonight. And Lou Pinella's team, it gets busy again in the bullpen. But Lou Pinella's team is trying to author something that has been very rarely done in Major League Baseball, that is for sure. The Mariners were as far back on August 2nd as 13 games out. In 53 days since then, they've made up 16 games. Ripped to a diving Soho, and Rex Hudler hit it on the nose, but Soho was there in the rain. Junior coming up in the bottom of the 6th.
Angels scored 2 in the first inning, and they've made it stand up here tonight. Belcher against Finley, and right here, Rex Hudler hits a bullet headed towards center field, but as we've seen all night long, another fine defensive play by Louis Soho, and look at the frustration. Rex Hudler has had a good night at the plate, and right there, he thought he had his second base hit.
Hudler's played well in the field. So the Mariners and Angels is a big-time game, and here's a big-time roar in the Kingdome as the top of the order steps up for the Mariners here in the 6th against Chuck Finley. Vince Coleman, Luis Soho, and Ken Griffey. And now you know why teams who are going to play the Seattle Seahawks during their week of practice pipe in noise at their practices like the Denver Broncos are probably doing this week. This is why.
Now, this is a big inning for the Mariners. They need Coleman to get on base here. They're down by a couple of runs. What a good job Vince Coleman has done as the leadoff guy since coming over to the Mariners. They picked him up from Kansas City. He was designated for assignment by the Royals. They were going in a different direction, and Coleman became available.
No, they don't get either appeal from down at first base from Dale Ford. The count is 2-0 to Coleman. And you know what Vince can do when he gets on. Vince currently 6th all-time in the stolen base department. Finley does not want him aboard. Way up top. 3-0. Nothing's happened yet, Buck, and they're going berserk. There's nothing that's happened. 3-1. Finley on the outside corner with Coleman taking all the way. Chuck Finley from Monroe, Louisiana, has given up just 2 hits through 5. Ball 4. Whoop. Well, Hudler got scraped on the uniform and went down to first. Garcia said, go ahead. Coleman figured, let me throw the bat. Garcia wasn't buying it, said it was on the corner.
Take a look at this pitch from Finley. 3-1 pitch. I tell you, that looked like it had the plate. Myers kind of really made it look a little bit further outside than it was. Coleman thought it was ball 4.
And now it's strike 3. So what a job by Finley coming back after he spotted Coleman at 3-0 count. And Chuck Finley is now retired 6 straight.
Boy, that was a huge comeback after falling behind 3-0. Finley continued to really bear down on Vince Coleman and finally strikes him out. Goldman brings right through a fastball.
Luis Sojo looks at the first pitch. Ball 1. Soho 0 for 1 with a walk. Snow robbed him with a diving play at first. Down the right field line. This will be foul.
Well, that ball carried a long way. I don't think anybody expected that ball to go that far. Soho looked like he just hit it off the end of the bat.
We started saying before, Buck, that on August 2nd, the Mariners 13 games out. And if they complete this win of the AL West, it would be the 3rd biggest comeback in the history of baseball. The 1914 Braves and the 1978 Yankees. Braves overtaking the Giants and the Yankees overtaking the Red Sox after that memorable 1-game playoff. 2 of the principals from 1978 are here in the same role. Lou Piniella, of course, the manager of the Mariners, member of those 78 Yankees. Ground ball by Soho. This Arsenio cross to Snow, and there's 2 down, but Piniella, a member of those 1978 Yankees that spotted the Red Sox 14 games and came back. And on the other bench, the 3rd base coach of the California Angels is Rick Burleson. And Burleson saw his team come from 3.5 down in the last 2 weeks to force the playoff. So it's interesting that they have seen this before, as Yogi would say, deja vu all over again. Ken Griffey Jr. flew out to center field when Edmonds made a leaping grab against the fence, flew out to right.
Well, Finley did a great job of getting the hitters ahead of Griffey Jr. out. So he faces Ken Griffey Jr. in a situation where he can't tie the game up with a home run. He fell behind Vince Coleman 3-0, struck him out, then got Soho to ground out the shortstop. So he's got a little breathing room here to work with Ken Griffey Jr.
Curveball up top to Jr. It's 2-1. We told you earlier that Griffey has hit home runs in 4 of the last 6 games, but a lifetime against Finland does not have the same sort of result. Just inside, it's 3-1. The batting leader is Martinez on deck. 9 for 41 lifetime, including 0 for 2 tonight.
Boy, Finley just won't give in to him. He just won't throw him that fastball down the middle. This looks like a breaking ball that's down. You know what that is? That's a split finger pitch, and Finley doesn't throw that an awful lot to left-handed hitters. I think that's why Griffey was surprised by that.
Here's a heater inside, backs Griffey off, and now he'll go down to first with Finley's third walk of the game. With 2 outs, the batting leader of the American League, Edgar Martinez, is up, and the California Angels are on the phone. Chuck Hernandez, the pitching coach, is getting some action in that pen. Edgar Martinez has one of the 2 hits tonight off Finley, so his average of .355. He will win his second American League batting title. Fouls it off. Strike 1. And he packed upper deck. In the bullpen is Troy Percival. And now it's been so long since the Angels have had Percival to Smith in their plans, rarely having leads. But the youngster has become the ace setup man for California. And the all-time save leader Lee Arthur Smith looms in the bullpen.
Wow, what a wicked forkball that was. You don't see Edgar Martinez take too many hacks like that. Watch Martinez commit. He's thinking fastball all the way. Big swing. And he got halfway through it and said, oops, that's the forkball. Boy, what a good pitch from Finley.
One and 2 to Martinez. Griffey at first with 2 outs. 2-0 California. Bolt in the first. Both runs coming with 2-out hits. A single by Salmon, a double by Chili Davis. Past the diving Snow into right field, but sharply hit. Griffey will just go to second as Salmon up with it quickly. Boy, Snow made a heck of an effort, but with a runner right there, he get kind of tangled up in blue, and he couldn't come up with the play.
Now Edgar Martinez has 2 of the 3 hits against Chuck Finley tonight. Continues to pad his average against left-handed pitchers. That ball is probably off the plate outside. Snow dives for it. Griffey has to hold up to make sure that he doesn't get hit by that. He can only go to second on the play. And now Chuck Hernandez, the pitching coach, is out to talk to Finley. Chuck Finley has been outstanding.
Great.
Just exactly what they had hoped they would get from him. Pitching on 3 days rest for the second time this year. Mark Langston was the scheduled starter. He's got a little tendonitis in his bicep. They had to move Finley up, and boy, has he been up to the task. There's Langston starting the pitches for Finley.
Now Finley may pitch again with 3 days rest on Sunday if they need him, as the Angels host the A's for 4, while Seattle will be in Texas for 4. Jay Buhner, one of the heroes yesterday in the 10-2 romp. One of the heroes here. He's been a Mariner since 1988, coming over from the Yankees in the trade for Ken. Good evening, Mr. Phelps. A long-time Mariner would love to deliver on this sort of evening. Oh, again, a great pitch from Finley.
Just the thing that makes that forkball so effective is his arm action. He comes through with great arm action. It looks like a fastball. The split finger grip takes the ball down and away from right-handed hitters. That bottom just falls out of that pitch.
And Finley quickly ahead at 0-2.
Greg Myers, the catcher, actually has had a lot of trouble with his right shoulder because of foul tips. He's missed a couple of games lately. Got banged up on that shoulder a couple times. Looks like he got another one right there. But I'm sure Greg's thinking, hey, I got all winter to heal now.
You know that, Phil.
Yeah, don't even think about that stuff.
Outside, correctly so. Buhner not biting at it. Count is 1-2 with Griffey at second base. And Edgar Martinez at first for Lou Piniella. Marcel Latchman, he says, I've used up all the speeches. Now we just have to go out and execute fundamentals, which they have done thus far tonight. Ground ball. Phillips will tag Griffey, and Finley strands a pair. So Chuck Finley continues to impress. We've played 6 at the Kingdome. Thank you. 2-0 Angels lead the Mariners. A 2-run first inning has stood up thus far in a packed Kingdome of over 50,000. Tickets gone a few days ago for this one, their last home game of the season. It's been a 7-0 homestand, and Mariner fans dressed all... Yeah, they're saying they will go all the way. And you know, with the decks all the way around here, Buck, I think it leads the league in banners that are here in the Kingdome. Oh, you don't ever see that. Junior fumbling a ball hit by Greg Myers.
Well, he got a real bad jump. I don't know if he got it off the bat at all, because he hesitated before he took off for this ball. The ball was off the end of the bat from Myers, and Griffey really was late breaking. You see, he hasn't moved yet. Look how deep he is, but he was hesitant before he broke for this ball. Then he has it in his glove and drops it. That ball is right there, about knee high, but he got a late break on that ball. That can't be anything but an error.
No, I wouldn't think so. It is an error. And swinging at the first pitch. Berman to Soho, but they cannot double up the speedy Tony Phillips, despite the stretch by Tino Martinez.
Now Dale Ford standing right on top of the play. Tim Belcher, the pitcher, was right over there by first. He felt like they completed the double play. Berman shovels it to Soho coming across the bag. Greg Myers stays all over Soho. Tony Phillips hustles down the line. Bang, bang at first base. Greg Myers does a good job of hustling and serving as a distraction for Soho.
By the way, it'd be nice if Soho touched the bag, or at least was closer.
He's close enough.
I know.
In the dome.
I know. This is Gary Dissar Sr., who is up now with Phillips at first. Phillips was running when he was on first with to lead off the first inning. And his running, essentially hit and run play, avoided a double play and a grounder by Dissar Sr., which allowed him to be aboard with 2 out at second, and Salmon singled him in. So the Angels have been more aggressive. And they've executed perfectly, starting with their pitching.
Now, Tony Phillips said, you know, I don't know how this thing got away from us, but you would think with the pitching staff we had that we would not have had 2 9-game losing streaks. But he's certainly not blaming the pitching staff alone.
As Phillips went on that play on the 0-1 pitch to this Sr., fouls it off. Can't ask for much more from him, Buck.
No. 3 hits against this ball club in this ballpark is outstanding. I believe they're trying to get 1 more inning out of Chuck Finley, trying to get him through the bottom part of that Mariner lineup in the 7th. And then they'll look to Percival and Smith 8th and 9th. Smith hasn't had a save opportunity since the 12th of September. Wonder if he can find the mound.
Yeah. He kind of knows where it is after all these years. He's been throwing the fastballs at me in the television set. He knows where it is. He can't wait to get there, is what it is. 0-1 pitch for this Sr., and there goes Phillips. And he can continue running right into the dugout. Wilson popped right up and fired it down, and Phillips was a dead duck.
Tony Phillips got a good jump. Dan Wilson unloaded in a hurry, but the play was made by the shortstop, Louis Soho. What a job by Soho. Look at the jump. He gets a good jump. Wilson got a good pitch to throw, and watch the throw. It's in the dirt. He digs it out and then sticks the tag to Phillips. What a great play by Soho. He stays right on this play and then takes the tag right to Phillips.
So 2 impressive parts with that. Beautiful play by Soho as Dissar Sr. fouls it back 1-2. Wilson, the release time was so quick, Buck.
Yeah,
he popped up and fired.
He throws very well. And that pitch was a lot tougher than I initially thought. It was away from him. Phillips got a good jump. Phillips is saying I took this arm away and then tagged the base with my right hand, but that wasn't the case because Soho stood with him and rode him off second.
Mike Blowers across to Tino Martinez. This Arcinia's gone. It's 7th inning stretch time here at the Kingdome. The Mariners trailing 2-0. Inning stretch time here at the Kingdome, and we have seen a pennant fever ball game, and we have seen an ace performance by Chuck Finley.
Well, Chris, this is exactly what Marcell Latchman needed tonight. They were trying to stop the skid. They come into a ballpark where the Mariners are pounding the ball all over the place, and Finley has kept them to just 3 hits. Edgar Martinez got 2 of those. Basically, the Angels still in this hunt. They know they've still got a life, but they needed a good performance from Finley tonight. The thing to remember about this Mariner ball club, they have had late inning heroics throughout the entire month of September.
Oh, have they ever? Have they ever? 6-0 leads they won with, down 4-1 in the 8th. They won. And up next on ESPN, the Rockies and the Dodgers. My goodness, they're doing our graphics for us. You think they're happy to have us up here in the Pacific Northwest? We're happy to be here, I'll tell you that.
Now, the thing Finley doesn't want to do at this point of the ball game is give the Mariners any free bases. He's got a 2-run cushion. This Mariner ball club has hit a lot of dramatic home runs. Marcell Latchman has not had too many leads in the last 5 or 6 weeks.
A lot by guys who are not in the lineup right now, as Mike Blowers swings and misses, count as 1-1. Blowers, Tino Martinez, and Felix Fermin, 6, 7, 8 here to hit for the Mariners in the 7th. They've got a big home run from Doug Strange last week. They had a grand slam from Vince Coleman, who of course is in the lineup. Alex Diaz hit a big home run. So a lot of their heroics by guys who have yet to play tonight. And of course, the man on deck, Tino Martinez, Soho, the man on deck, Tino Martinez, hit such a memorable home run off Dennis Eckersley, the 2-run homer in the 9th inning. So they beat Eckersley. Will they have a chance at Lee Smith, all in the span of 4 days? As Finley is behind the leadoff man Blowers, 3-1.
Lou Piniella is very, very confident that his club can come back against anybody. And I'm a little surprised the Angels haven't gotten anybody up to throw yet behind Chuck Finley. Now they're on the phone. There's Chuck Hernandez.
If you call them, they will throw. Oh, Blowers took a big rip and misses. It's 3-2. You know, the Mariners, Buck, have only been shut out once all year. So that puts into perspective what Finley has done.
There aren't too many soft spots 1 through 9 in this lineup. Still got that good forkball work into the cost him the leadoff walk.
So Blowers is aboard, and Finley has issued 4 walks, and he's given up just 3 hits. For only the 2nd time tonight, the Mariners have the leadoff man on. Bob Patterson, the left-hander there. And it's Percival, the right-hander. So now you're in the basic lefty-righty setup guys for Lee Smith. Your attack point of the game.
Remember, Tino Martinez has worn out Chuck Finley over his career. Coming into this game, 455.
Tino with 108 RBIs. Oh, he tries to bunt his way on.
I think that surprised everybody, including his manager. Tino Martinez, 31 home runs, and he's trying to bunt the ball here. I can appreciate him trying to get on to set the table, but you got Felix Fermin behind you. You got to think about leaving. Hitting one out.
So Finley keeps it down and away that time for Martinez, because he was pretty sure that we would not see a square and bunt that time. And it's 1-1. Tino is walking, grounded to second tonight. Swings for that pitch by Finley. It's 1-2. Chuck is so resilient this evening, Buck.
Well, I tell you, he has been in big games before, but he knows the Angels are right at the end of their rope right now. They can ill afford to lose many more ball games, and on short rest, he has been outstanding.
Basically, as Finley misses that one, though, 2-2. If the Angels lose tonight, they need major help from New York and, of course, Seattle. But if they win tonight, even though they don't control their own destiny for the first time since about the third week of the season, if you can just one slip up by the Yankees, if they win out as California, they could force a playoff. If they win tonight, they can just about forget it. They know that. Tino Martinez, forget it. Finley has him swing through that one. So Finley, his fourth strikeout tonight. Big K after he leads the inning off with a walk to Flowers.
Boy, Tino Martinez got himself in a hole by trying to bunt the first pitch from Finley, and then Finley polishes him off with another good forkball.
And now we'll see some of the Mariner bench. And here's a guy that's done a good job for Lou Piniella, playing a variety position. Started last couple of years, not this year. Rich, protect your car with Amaral. So Amaral will step in. 33-year-old, but just his third major league season. In 93 for Lou, he hit .290.
Well, he's had some success against Chuck Finley, hitting over 300 with a home run.
Amaral this year has batted. This will be his 238th at bat. So he played a lot of outfield when Junior was out, some infield.
As a pinch hitter against Chuck Finley, you've got to be looking for that first pitch fastball. You see, he's not a legitimate power hitter. He's hit a couple of home runs, one against Finley in his career.
Did you see the 283 mark? He's 2 for 9 as a pinch hitter this year, as Amaral. Flowers looks in from first, and Amaral takes ball one from Finley. Amaral, native Californian, Visalia. Count even at 1-1. Don't forget the Rockies and Dodgers coming up next. So AL West first, NL West second. Finley over 100 pitches now. On 3 days rest. Yes, he went around, says Dale Ford. Boy, Dale's had a busy night tonight, hasn't he?
A lot of close calls for the first base umpire on the appeal, but you'll get that with Finley and that forkball. Hitters offer after the pitch, and then they try to shut the swing down, but you can see Amaral went after that pitch.
Inside fastball, 2-2 to Amaral.
So here he goes right back to the forkball, trying to get a ground ball. The ground ball off the bat of Amaral, and they might get out of this inning with a double play. They've turned one already tonight. See the infield up the middle, shortened up in double play position.
Finley want to be a little more careful with that pickoff throw than he was in the second inning. And it was again Blowers who they were keeping an eye on, and this errant throw allowed Blowers to go to third. Eventually was stranded. Well, that's kind of the off your back foot throw by Finley. The maybe he'll trip over his shoelace approach, and I'll catch him lying down.
Yeah, his heart really wasn't into that pickoff. It was
that was more like a screen pass, wasn't it? That's interesting. Not sure what that is.
Now that's the move where you just step off. Trying to get a little movement from Blowers towards second.
The dink and dunk offense, if he was a quarterback throwing that. Now to the plate. Up top and outside, Amaral. Count is full. 2-0 Angels. Wave going in a sold-out Kingdome. Potential tying run at the plate at Amaral. Wilson on deck, the catcher.
They'll probably start Blowers right here, trying to avoid a potential double play. No,
They do not, and Amaral will foul it into the third row of seats behind first.
The reason I suggest that is Amaral's pretty good contact hitter. He could put the ball in play.
Well, Mike this time.
Lou Piniello's doing some wandering tonight, isn't he?
Yeah.
Checking out
yellow
the
magic marker working out there tonight. I've heard of painting the town. I didn't think of painting the dugout. This will be out of play. We'll do it again. The Seattle Mariners have won 11 of 12 by not coming from behind. 9 straight wins at home. All these numbers, and Chuck Finley has stared him down thus far. There's the Merchant of Venice, Andy Bennis. The Padre turned Mariner, who has just been so impressive, including the win yesterday. Fastball inside to Amaral, and the second walk of the inning. And now Marcel has a decision to make, and I think he's made it.
You can't ask much more from Chuck Finley. He has done a whale of a job, and he's got Marcel Lautschman's Angels out in front here. These two guys go all the way back to '86 when Finley first came up. Marcel Lautschman was his first pitching coach in the big league, so they got a great relationship. He calls to the bullpen. He's going to ask for the right-hander.
Troy Percival will come in, but an all-star performance by Chuck Finley tonight. He leads with a 2-0 lead. Now Chuck Finley is gone, pitching 1 out into the 7th inning. The Angels lead the Mariners 2-0, but Seattle has 2 aboard. Pitching change and a batting change. The youngster Troy Percival 4 years ago was a catcher. He is the main setup man for Marcel Lautschman.
And he's got some big-time heat coming out of that bullpen. This will be his 59th game of the season, and he has been outstanding all year long. He's had a bit of a speed bump lately here, but look at the hits to innings pitched. 37 hits.
Wow.
In 68 in the 3rd innings and 82 strikeouts. He's got a devastating fastball. He's been up over 100 miles an hour a time or two this year. Plus, he's got a great curveball that he'll throw anytime.
One thing, though, Buck, as Finley sits, Percival working for the first time in 8 days. He's your main setup man. We'll see if that works for or against him. He's certainly rested. And here's Finley's line tonight. 3 hits and 6 1/3. Well done, Chuck. Lou Piniello has sent up a pinch hitter for his catcher as Flowers is at second. And Amaral is at first. Doug, people are strange. 10 for 29 as a pinch hitter, including a home run. The home run we described a week ago. Big, big home run for Strange in this month of September.
Now, Percival really presents a tough problem for a hitter because he throws so hard, plus he has that wicked curveball. You've got to make up your mind that you're going to look for one or the other. But it's very difficult to look for a curveball from a guy who throws 95 miles an hour.
Oh, a heater to Strange. And it count as 1-1. Strange home run that we're talking about came a week ago Tuesday on the 19th. A pinch hit home run as Seattle beat Texas while the Angels were losing to the A's. That pinch hit home run in the 3-2 win got to Seattle to within 1 of California. The Lightning strike again here at the Kingdome.
Well, that's a good fastball. He couldn't pull the trigger there. Percival's going up, up, up with the speed.
98 miles an hour on that one.
He's starting to get loose now. Boy, good control, too. Fastball at the knees on the inside.
Peter outside, and we're 2-2. Top of the order, Vince Coleman on deck. Mariners only the second time this afternoon with 2 runners aboard. Oh, the heater, and Strange will sit down. You're right. Heater is an understatement.
Well, he is well rested, that's for sure. He's had the opportunity to regroup a bit, and boy, does he blow this fastball right by Doug Strange. That ball is by him. Watch where that back crosses. You see that ball is well behind him. He must have got a piece of it, but first of all, that's what he did early in the season. He was overmatching everybody he faced.
You know, we had the Angels in Baltimore for those memorable Ripken tying and breaking games. We talked with Langston and Finley, who I've known for a long time. And so impressed you the most of all these guys that have come through, and I figured he'd be one of the young batters. Both of them. Troy Percival. That's what they said. 26 years of age from Fontana, California. Is Percival working to Vince Coleman, who has seen a fastball or two. Oh, he blew that past Coleman. Count is 1-1.
Boy, it's very difficult if you start chasing that letter-high fastball against Percival because it actually takes off a bit. It looks very inviting because you can see it, but you can't catch up to it to hit it. Just really got to fight to make him bring it down.
Strike 2, 1-2.
This is the formula the Angels used so effectively in the first 3.5 months of the season. Percival in the 7th or 8th. He pitches an inning and 2/3. Turn it over to the big guy, Lee Smith, and he wraps it up. Marcel Latchman will love that formula for the next 5 nights.
Just up top, outside. 2-2 to Coleman. Flowers the runner at second. Amaral the runner at first. Soho next, and then potentially Junior. Fouled off. It remains a 2-2.
There's not a whole lot of deception in Percival's approach, is there?
Coming with the fastball.
He's not trying to trick anybody.
Since neither of you guys have hit it yet, I'll keep coming with it.
You know what's even more remarkable about the year he's put together? He's got about a 6-inch zipper on the inside of his right elbow. He's had that elbow rebuilt, and he's still throwing almost 100 miles an hour.
Coleman reaches out, but this will be foul and caught down to the Mariner bullpen. So the runners will return. Mike Flowers walk now is at second.
One thing we should remind you all of is just how well both of these clubs have played tonight. Defensively, early in the game, they were outstanding. Lou Piniello's Mariners defense made some fine defensive plays early in the game. Same for the Angels.
Snow and Edmonds in particular, and Hudler. And of course, at the top of the list with why California has a chance to make a major move back is Chuck Finley. Vince Coleman has struck out, so Percival comes in, strikes out a pair. Chuck Finley's 2-0 lead is intact. The 98-mile heater. Angels 2-0.
We move to the top of the 8th at Kingdome. Angels still carry a 2-0 lead. Troy Percival came in and blew some smoke right by Vince Coleman to finish off the inning, stranding 2 runners. Coleman was overmatched with a good fastball reaction on the Angel bench, as you can see behind. Coleman frustrated by the strikeout. Chuck Finley's reaction. What a job he did tonight. He got bailed out of a tough spot by Troy Percival, who has done it all year long.
That's what we call a deep purple pitch. Smoke on the water. As Edmonds, Salmon, and Chili Davis 3-4-5 against Tim Belcher. Doug Strange has stayed in the game and will play second base and obviously hit ninth. And the new catcher now is Chris Widger, 24 years of age, from Wilmington, Delaware. Played his college ball at George Mason. So Jim Edmonds leads it off. Edmonds has made a fine catch in center field tonight, but is 0 for 3 at the plate. And his 0 for 4 is Strange into the game, immediately handles it. There is one out. You know, we look at all these great Angel hitters, and we must mention that Rod Carew, the hitting guru, is not with the club tonight. He is flown home ostensibly to be with his youngest daughter, Michelle, who was diagnosed recently as having leukemia. And we would be remiss if all of us at ESPN didn't give our heartfelt wishes and hope that things turn for the better. And I should also tell you that many of the Angels come up and ask us to say the same thing tonight. Crew's been so close to these hitters. And so he's not with the club tonight. Rod, we love you. I hope things turn around for Michelle. Tim Salmon 1 for 3, but that one was a base hit in the first inning, a little blooper that scored the first Angel run. Now we're talking about Angel coaches. Count 1-1 to Salmon. That's what Rick Burleson said before the game. Salmon fouls it off. The third base coach, Rick Burleson. We showed you the greatest the comebacks, and of course Burleson was on the wrong side of that 78 comeback. He was with the Red Sox, and the Yankees made up 14 games to beat him in the playoff. I said, so does this remind you of this? He said, no. I tell you what my team, the Angels, remind me of, the 74 Red Sox. I said, well, what do you mean? We had a 7-game lead that season. The Orioles ended up beating us by 7. I'm not saying we're done yet this year. As Salmon grounds it to third, and Blowers, in the dirt, dug out by Tino Martinez, and there's 2 outs. But he said, you know what? We were so annoyed that we made sure we came out of the gates flying the next year in '75, and we won the pennant and got in the World Series. He said, that's what this team reminds me, the 74 Red Sox. We're not done yet this year, but you wait and see next year, and that's the Rooster all the way.
Yeah, it's a great learning tool for this ball club. No matter what happens from this point out, they had such a comfortable lead, and they actually saw it slip right through their fingers.
Chili Davis, RBI double in the first inning, a double in the fourth, and struck out in the sixth.
We've talked about Chuck Finley tonight, what a great job he has done. Let's don't forget what Tim Belcher's done in this game. Just the 2 first-inning runs, and he has held the Angels to just 4 hits. This will be one of his better starts of the season.
No doubt about that.
He is throwing just 107 pitches, walked 3 batters, hasn't struck out many, but boy, he has really done a good job of mixing up his pitches and keeping this offense off balance.
Chili fouls it, and Blowers, will he have room? Yes, sir. So a 1-2-3 inning for Tim Belcher, who certainly has gotten stronger since the first. Can the Mariners come back from a 2-run? Percival, who struck out the 2 batters he faced. Percival on now to start the 8th against Luis Sojo, and then the heavy metal, Griffey and Edgar Martinez, which means Buhner, Blowers, and Tino around the corner. So here it is, the Mariners trying to win and lower their magic number to 1, which would clinch a tie in the AL West. The Angels trying to stave it off, trying to keep the magic number at 3, and trying to stay within that wild card hunt. We have seen a beautiful ball game tonight with Chuck Finley and Tim Belcher, the headliners. Luis Sojo fouls it back, and it's 1-2.
Well, the Angels came out and really did what they had to do. They took an early lead and basically kept the fans kind of quiet here. Marcel Lassman, he doesn't really think too much about the fans anywhere. He's just saying, I need to win right now. And Chuck Finley gave him a great effort. Now he's looking for Troy Percival to continue to blow that fastball here tonight.
6-22 in their last 28 games are the California Angels. 9 losing streak of 9 twice in late August and another one in mid-September. Well, they're not feeling that right now. They picked themselves up. And now they're an inning and a half away. Sojo chops it behind the plate and foul. Count remains at 1-2.
Well, Percival has thrown 2 curveballs to
Louis Soho, the first one, just about got him to fall over. In the second one, he just barely got a piece of it to stay alive. He's a unique young pitcher to come in and be able to throw fastball and curveball over, working as a setup guy like that and have the kind of velocity.
That one gets past. Did he go around? And obviously nobody appealing. That could have been a possibility where it gets past the catcher and he tries down to go to first.
That was another curveball that he threw in the dirt. Soho offered at it, but kept his bat back, checked his swing.
What a difference in the speeds. The curve clocked at about 80. The fastball at about 98.
Watch his bat. Boy, that was close. Richie Garcia peeled to first base, and Dale Force said no swing.
This one will curve foul. A long run for J.T. Snow, but it's going to be on beyond the Angel bullpen and into the seats. And one lucky member of this paid crowd of 56,467. With 50,212 in the house. It's complicated to explain. There aren't 6,000 no-shows, I can tell you that. But it's a well, it'll take me a while to explain what happened. It's a giveaway thing, and they did it all in the early season. And at any rate, Soho now pops it up, and this one will get three Angels' attention. But the right fielder, Tim Salmon, makes the play on this one out. With Ken Griffey coming up, we can tell you about Saturday college football. College game day at 11:30 Eastern time, followed by later on Wisconsin. All those Badgers and the Nittany Lions of Penn State at 5:45 Eastern, and then all those Golden Buffaloes of Colorado, #4, with a big win over Texas A&M last week. Playing at #10, Oklahoma, where the wind goes sweeping across the plain. Wisconsin and Penn State, Colorado and Oklahoma, and award-winning show College Game Day begins it at 11:30. Ken Griffey Jr., who last month became the seventh youngest player ever to amass 1,000 hits. Already has 1,000 hits, won't be 26 until November.
Well, he has done just about everything you could imagine to get off on the right foot for a long, lengthy career.
The third youngest player ever to get 150 homers. All that said, he's still not, he doesn't say he's quite back yet, but he says, get me to October and we'll really see. You just wonder if Griffey times that fastball by Percival, what kind of shot we might see.
Well, if he ever catches up to it, it'll be a big one.
He wants a shot too. It is Jay Buhner. The Mariners lead the league in goatees, don't they? What? Fouled off by Junior, 1-2.
He's got a little bit behind that fastball. It's remarkable he's been able to come back and be this productive given the severity of his injury. He broke both bones in his wrist, crashing into the wall in right center here. He's got a plate and 7 screws in that wrist.
We'd like to put the screws to Percival and miss it back and touch the plate. That's right. Count remains at 2-2. Junior is 0 for 2 with a walk. His shot in the first inning took Edmonds against the center field fence, and Jimmy made a fine catch.
Junior looks pretty nervous, doesn't he?
Yeah. Count is full. Curveball inside.
You know, there's not too many situations in sports where you can have two people with this much talent head to head. I mean, this is one of the best players in the game, and you got Troy Percival throwing about 100 miles an hour.
I think the fans just recognize that. Griffey is aboard. So Percival had retired the first 3 Mariners that he had faced. And it gives up a base on balls, which means Edgar Martinez coming to the plate is now the potential tying run. And Buhner on deck. Edgar with 29 home runs. And if he hits one, the Mariners would have 3 guys with 30.
Edgar Martinez generally likes the ball away from him. He'll use the big part of the field, but in situations like this, he will guess with a pitcher and look for a fastball inside and try to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He will go against his strength, just trying to come up with a big fly.
Single to left, single to right for the leading batter of the American League. Rip to left center field. Back it goes, back. It's caught by Garrett Anderson. Griffey back to first. Oh, man. That's about the 3rd or 4th ball caught on the track tonight. Edgar gave it a run for what would have been home run number 30. And as Maxwell Smart would say, missed it by that much.
Well, he was looking for that first pitch. This ball is on the inner part of the plate. You can see he just didn't get extended on it. He didn't get his arms out all the way to drive it to the wall. Garrett Anderson 2 strides on the warning track. Takes it, braces himself on the wall, and gets the ball back to infield. That close to tying it up.
A lot of fly ball outs tonight by the Mariners, especially in the early innings. This is Jay Buhner. 118 RBIs, 38 home runs. Including a homer yesterday. He took a major league rip and fouled it back against Percival 0-1.
Yeah, he wasn't thinking about a soft single to right, was he? Watch this swing. He cranks up, gets his fastball. That's a bit up, just a tad high. Boy, he had a big-time rip.
It's the Buhner buzz cuts. Good pitch by Percival and Buhner in the hole at 0-2. Buck, the Mariners only have the 3 hits, just one in the 2nd, one in the 4th, one in the 6th. So they're an even inning hitting club tonight, so you figure they're due. Lou Piniella knows that he's seen Percival's heat, and he'll see Lee Smith in the 9th. Oh. Percival has come on and struck out Buhner for his 3rd strikeout in 1 2/3. We head to the 9th. 2-0 California. Kingdome in Seattle, where the place is ready to explode, but Chuck Finley and the Angels have prevented it. The Angels with 2 runs in the first lead the Mariners 2-0 here as we go to the top of the 9th. Both teams flying out of here after this one. The Angels are 3 back of the Mariners with 5 games to go in the West. The Angels are 2 back of the Yankees in the wild card chase. Angels play tomorrow. The Yankees do not. So a win here and a win tomorrow for California could move them to within 1. So that's as simple as it gets as we play the 9th. And Tim Belcher has not allowed a hit to the Angels since Chili Davis doubled in the 4th. Snow, Anderson, and Hudler up. JT Snow is 0 for 3. We talked about Finley all night. Tim Belcher's come up rather big, and really of the 4 hits, just the 2 doubles by Davis hard hit. The other 2 were softies.
Boy, he's been outstanding. 2 runs in the 1st, and you didn't think that they would stand up, and obviously they haven't yet, but 1 hit over the last 6 innings. Pitch for pitch, he's matched.
Some irony here as we watch the Angels lead the Mariners 2-0 tonight. The last championship baseball team in the Seattle area, the Seattle Rainiers of the late 60s, the AAA club of the California Angels, managed by Bob Lemon. And here come the Mariners trying to dust the Angels on their route to the AL West. It's funny how these things work out years later. 19 years, now pennant bound. Only 2 winning seasons here in Seattle for the Mariners. You're 20 if you want to count the 1 year that the Seattle Pilots attempted. JT Snow with the 5th Angel hit of the night with a base hit up the middle. Coming up next, we go from the AL West to the National League West. Joe and Dwayne get ready to talk to Tommy Lasorda, Don Baylor, Dodgers, Rockies. The Rockies winning yesterday, so they're a half up on the Dodgers. They closed their 3-game set. So excitement here at the Kingdome, excitement at Chavez Ravine. Lou Piniella out to the mound and a standing ovation for Tim Belcher. We'll be back. In 20 to have 100 extra base hits. Unreal. Norm Charlton, who came over in mid-season from the Philadelphia Phillies. And what has Norm done? He's assumed the closer's role, Buck. He's been almost automatic. Lou loved him when he was a member of the Nasty Boys with the Reds in 1990 in Cincinnati. And he didn't get him to make him the closer, but he certainly has earned the spot.
Well, when Charlton got released by Philadelphia, he contacted Piniella and said, hey, I'd like to come out and have you look at me. Lou saw him throw for about 10 minutes on the side and said, that's good enough for me. We'll get you some innings. And since then, he has just moved right into this position.
Bunt laid down by Garrett Anderson. Look at Charlton make the tag and then look to second base to try and make a play. Did not. Snow down to second. Anderson does his job. So for the most part tonight, the Angels doing the little things which they have not done during their losing scheme.
Well, Charlton comes over in the baseline and puts the tag on Garrett Anderson. Good bunt by the Angel rookie. He moves the base runner into second base.
Here's Tim Belcher hoping that the Charlton can close it down, and Tim was marvelous tonight.
It's a great line. 8+, 5 hits, 2 runs. The runner at second, his responsibility.
Johnson, Belcher, Bennis, postseason. This team could be really dangerous, these Mariners, but thus far it's the Angels that have provided the danger tonight. 2-run first inning, and they've made it hold up. Finley, then Percival, and you got to feel you'll see the looming figure of Lee Arthur Smith in the bottom of the ninth. Hudler has had an interesting night at the plate. A little tapper for a hit, was hit by a pitch, and then was robbed, kind of hit by a pitch, was brushed by a pitch, and then was robbed by a diving Soho at short. So Hudler has almost been on all 3 times tonight. Hudler with card, so he's seen the Charlton work in the National League. You're watching Percival pitch, and you think of how Charlton was with Myers and Dibble with the Heat, with Lou Piniella's 90 Reds. Count is 2-1 now to Hudler.
Well, Charlton's wicked pitch is that split finger pitch. He throws a very hard forkball. The fastball and the breaking ball, but the forkball will be the pitch he gets a lot of outs with.
Charlton really didn't pitch for a year and a half. Remember, he pitched this year in Philadelphia, took a ball to the face. One of the reasons he's come back, at least it's one of his theories, that he helped build his own house, or in addition to the house in the offseason, was hammering nails every day. And that's almost better than throwing. At least that's part of the reason why he is back this year. That's a new one. Fly ball to center field. Griffey is there. Snow will bluff a tag. The throw comes right on line and cut off by Soho, and there's 2 now, and Snow back to second base.
Greg Myers.
So Hudler will sit, and Greg Myers is up. You're looking ahead to the Mariner 9th. 6, 7, 8. Blowers, Martinez, and Amaral due up.
In this situation, you might think that Marcel Latchman may pinch hit for left-handed hitting Myers with Charlton on the mound, but Myers has done such a good job calling the game tonight against Seattle that he's going to have him finish out this ball game.
I have to say the catcher, Chris Widger, is due up third. Went into Amaral's spot. Well, Marcel so upset so much he went halfway up the tunnel. Got a strike to the catcher, Myers. How big would this run be?
That might be enough to do it.
Big pitch on the outside corner by Charlton. Myers swings to it, and he's 0-2. Boy, it's as if they're ahead.
Well, they've seen so many ninth-inning dramatics here. They know this run is important.
Way outside. Widger is there to block it. We'll let the crowd tell you what happens here with this. We're getting good at these quiet minutes or two. I don't know that we'll have 23 tonight, but we'll let the crowd tell you what Myers does against Charlton.
He balked. He balked. He moved his hands before he stepped off. Richie Garcia was all over. Charlton knew it, too. He knew he made the wrong move. He started with his hands, and then he started to step off hurriedly, but he knew he made a fatal mistake. Canelo doesn't have a beef with that.
He knows. Quickest. Here's Charlton working 0-1-2 to Myers outside 2-2. I think the umpiring crew's had a good night tonight. They've been on top of it.
Well, they sure have. They made some real close calls. Garcia had a bang-bang play at the plate. A couple of check swings that were right on. The balk's important because of that fork ball from Charlton.
Did he go around? Yes, he did. He gets him on the outside pitch. Snow is stranded at third. Heading to the bottom of the ninth. Do the Mariners have a rally in them that would clinch a tie for the West against Lee Smith? Back at an awfully loud Kingdome in Seattle. The Mariners trying to clinch a tie for the AL West, but they've got to do some business. They trail 2-0 here in the ninth. California trying to cut the lead to 2 in the West. The Mariners trying to put it up by 4. The Angels trying to stay in that wild card hunt with the Yankees, who have won today. The Angels will be back to a game and a half behind. And on the mound in the ninth, a familiar sight. The all-time save leader, Lee Arthur Smith. 468 saves lifetime, 34 of them this season.
Well, as we mentioned, he hasn't had a save opportunity since the 12th of September. But this is the formula Marcel Latchman used through the first part of the season. Percival to set up, and then he turns it over to Lee Smith.
And Lee Smith will very quickly face a pinch hitter. Joey Cora is going to come up to the plate and bat for Mike Flowers. And there's Rene Gonzalez, who's going in for defensive purposes for Tony Phillips III. 56,000 plus on their feet, hoping to see what has never been done in 19 years of Mariner baseball. An AL West flag, or at least a guaranteed share. Joey Albacora, the pinch hitter here in the ninth.
Well, Cora was instrumental in the win yesterday against the Angels. He got hit by a pitch, got on base, and then scored the first run of the ball game that eventually led to a 10-2 win for Seattle.
Cora trying to do what no one really except Edgar Martinez has done tonight. The Mariners are, we saw the graphic before, they're now 1 for 22, except for Martinez, who has 2 hits tonight. So Cora is not responsible for that 1 for 22, wants to get some things going. Everybody, Edgar and Jr. and company heads up. Up top is Lee Smith, it's 1-1. Tino Martinez on deck, and there you go. First save opportunity in over 2 weeks. Yow. Low 2-1. They love all the Mariners here. Now they could come back against the all-time save leader. They came back in the ninth against Dennis Eckersley on Sunday. Up top, 3-1.
Nobody ever suggested that playing in a pennant race was easy.
Full count, 3-2. You had a feeling he'd be taking on that one. Ken Griffey, we give him a green light. Joey Cora, let's wait.
Tino Martinez hit the 2-run home run against Eckersley in the bottom of the ninth on Sunday.
Strikeout. Cora is gone. 1 down here in the Mariner ninth. So Percival with 3 strikeouts in relief, and Smith now with 1. Rockies and Dodgers. You like this one? You'll love the next one. The AL West first, the NL West second. We are proud to be the network of baseball. And we'll be there with every meaningful game on Sunday. And, dare we say, a possible playoff on Monday. That would be on ESPN. Or two of them. Gino Martinez fouls it off. It's 0-1. Gino is 0 for 2 with a walk. He struck out his last time up in the 7th, the second to last batter that Chuck Finley faced. To center field. Edmonds coming on, has room, and the Mariners are down to their final out. And they will send up a pinch hitter in this situation. Alex Diaz will come to the plate to bat for the young catcher Widger, and Diaz is one of those that we talked about. He had a pinch hit homer capping a big rally 5 days ago when the Mariners beat the A's 10-7. That was the day the Mariners took over first place alone.
Right now, they don't need a home run. They need a base runner. Somebody on base. He didn't have to think about a home run. He thinks that he's got to make Lee Smith work right here.
This has been a very potent 1-2 punch for the Angels for most of the season. Troy Percival and Lee Smith.
In there for a strike. Marcel Latchman, his stomach's been churning some extra rotations the last 4 or 5 weeks. Foul back, and Lee Smith is down to the final strike. The Angels fly home from here for a 4-game series against Oakland, opening tomorrow night. The Mariners fly to Texas for a 4-game series in Arlington, opening tomorrow night. One and 2 to Alex Diaz. Did he go? No! Says Mike Riley at third. Boy, there have been a lot of appeals tonight.
Well, you'll get that when you have pitchers out on the mound that throw those split-finger forkballs. A lot of check swings as the hitters will recognize the ball is breaking down and away from them, try to check their swing. Angels are ready to say, okay. Tony Phillips said, come on, College, you've been calling it all night.
2 and 2 to Diaz. 2 out and on. Down the left field line, but that will be foul, so the count remains the same. Doug Strange is on deck in the 9-hole. Then they go to the top against Coleman if they get anything going. Vince hoping he has a chance. Foul back.
Boy, he's putting up a good fight, isn't he?
Well, the young Mariners are learning tonight the winning a pennant. You don't just win. You've never won anything in 19 years. You don't just blow through and win it. As Ringo once sang, it don't come easy. Two and 2 pitch. They'll do it again. Diaz will get it back.
He's hanging tough. They got a guy on deck that has had some dramatic hits. We'll see Wednesday Night Baseball coming up. Rockies and Dodgers. Kevin Ritz.
It's happening. That's been a seesaw in the NL West. Boy, that's been great as well. We can't offer you a better platter. We hope you're enjoying this. Rip to right field. But there is Tim Salmon to make the out. And the Angels, there are Angels in the pennant race. But what an ovation in the last home game for Lou Pinilla's Mariners. Buck, beautiful game tonight.
It was outstanding. They had great pitching from both sides. A couple of key hits early in the first inning. Tony Phillips got it started, and Marcel Latchman got a win they sorely needed.
We don't see you again this year. It has been a pleasure. You will be going next to Dwayne and Joe with the Rockies and the Dodgers. For Buck Martinez, I'm Chris Berman. Thanks for watching. Let's go on to L.A.